Yes. It's the Intergalactic Soul, the Honorable Brother, the Revolutionary yourself, Darius Lockhart, and I'm here to tell you to watch Power Bombshells every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. That's right, every Sunday at 1 p.m., and that's on time, every time, because when we stand together, what time is it? That's right, it's nation time.
Welcome to Power Bombshells 169, dudes. It's Mel and Sam, and we're just two broads talking about the wrestling we watch. Hey, Sam, how's it going?
It's going good. And since it is episode 190, I guess we should have. Do you have our clip ready?
You know what?
Do you have it? I didn't think about it until now.
69, dudes.
Yeah, gotta throw it in there. I will always have that. That is evergreen.
Do you have the Kenny Omega one still?
Oh yes, I do. Wait, hang on. Let me fix it. Wait, that's right. This is for Nikki. I keep this on hand for Nikki because where did it go? No, where did you go? Okay, what? No, hang on. Make small talk quick.
Okay,
I'll find it.
Well, thank you for everybody who's already in the chat today. We appreciate that. Happy Sunday. I know the horrors persist, and so do we.
Here we go. Here you go, Nikki.
I'm ready.
69 me done. 69 me saved me. 69 me done.
And now look at where we are.
Okay. We are so classy. We're the
but I was gonna say, and also look at where we are in terms of Don Callis and Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada and the returning Kota Ibushi, who I don't know why, and we'll get to it more, but like I don't know why I didn't even consider the fact that they'd bring him in, but of course they would.
Of course.
We talked last week about why Don Callis is involved in Omega Okada 5, and for some reason, like I didn't even think about Kota, even though he's been posting, and Nikki and I talked about it last night, and Nikki was like, yeah, I thought that maybe it could happen. I did not click at all until like right as it was happening. And of course I was on live coverage last night, and I was behind because there was the 8-man all-star match that of course was crazy to try to cover. So I was behind. And so the people in the Wrestling Inc. Slack, they were ahead and had already seen it by the time we got to it. And I was like, I think Nikki said it, and she was like, oh my gosh, she was like, is it Ibushi? And she was like, please tell me he did not join Don Callis. So
here we are.
Yes. I make Pete said he was thinking about us today and thought Power Bombshells would make a great women's tag team name. I mean, we might have to. Maybe we should. Or should. Is that our cue to trademark it?
I mean, when we start making the big money off of it, and we can afford to.
There we go. Right? Yeah, trademarking's expensive.
Dude, those things are not cheap. They start at like $350 or something, and you really have to prove it out. You have to like write it out. It is crazy, but yeah, we do kind of fundamental. I mean, legally we would have the claims to it, but that's like way in the weeds. We don't want to talk about that.
No. Don gets better every week, and his scar moves, and it's great. Yes.
Don Callis is my favorite person to hate in wrestling. He will never.
He's a lot of people's favorite to hate.
I've always loved hating him. I used to love when Suzuki used to terrorize him. Is my favorite thing in the world. Maybe we'll get some repeat of that at Forbidden Door. Please, I would love it.
Please, we need it. Yeah, Nikki said she loves that for her using that clip.
Me too.
They are S-tier heels. And then, yes, thank you. Happy Sunday to you, too.
Good pronunciation there.
I wasn't listen, I'm no Hangman Adam Page. I know a little bit, but not enough.
But it's about good faith. That's the point.
That is true. That is true. We appreciate that. I did not expect. Like when he started to speak Spanish, I thought it was going to be like, oh, he's just going to do a line or two. I did not expect an entire promo, which
pretty cool.
I should have, I guess.
It was just funny to watch people become. Everybody was a linguistics major this week about his promo, and I just found that kind of funny.
Always.
Oh, wrestling community.
Yeah. Yes, Brad says between Callis, Stoke, and Nana, AEW has the 3 best managers going right now. Yeah. Grand Slam was fantastic. Yes, and we're going to get into all of that. But before we do,
however,
we have a very important guest with us today. And let me make sure I get this correct because I don't want to get in trouble. So today, joining us is wrestling's richest prize, the All-Father, number 4 on the BRP 50, number 152 on the 2024 PWI 500, 2-time ECWA Super 8 winner, Ashe men's champion, Bree Championship Wrestling World Champion, Mr. Darius Carter.
Good work. I'm impressed.
Thank you. Those are the bullet points. I was like, gotta get it all. And Mr. Darius Carter makes it very easy for us because it's right there in his Twitter bio, because we want to make sure we get all those accolades. Look at that beautiful, beautiful title. That this is the first time that
me. It's competition. It really is.
Yes, very much so. And this is the first time that this title has graced the Power Bombshells. We've had previous Power Bombshell, or I'm sorry, Ashe guest here, but this is the first time we've had the title on, and of course, this is also the first time we've had the champion here with us. So, thank you for your time today. We appreciate you joining us here at Power Bombshells.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. And that's part of being champion. It's not just having matches. You got to go everywhere and put it on the sound waves and make sure people get to hear it and not just see it. And, just know about it, learn about it, and what it's all about. So, again, thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Yes, definitely. And so, speaking of wrestling, I believe you just had a match yesterday. Is that correct?
Oh, it's been a weekend. So I was in Connecticut Friday for BST and did a Rumble match, and it came down to me and Dijak. So that was our first time wrestling. I've known him maybe a decade ago when we were in Beyond Wrestling, but we never touched, we never fought. So that was something else. And then Saturday was Brooklyn for Battle Club Pro. That was the 3:00 show. Then I did 2 matches, hopped in my car, and then drove to Pro Wrestling Magic to be in a steel cage triple threat main event. So
wow.
did that.
He's a working champion.
Yes.
That's it. That's on IWTV. So that came out. And so was also the BST event on Friday. So that was on IWTV. That's going to be releasing soon. They did that live. And then today I actually have a show later today, for ACE, for American Championship Entertainment. That's in Teaneck, New Jersey. So having 4 matches in one weekend, it's hilarious how that all works out. I get announced as number 4 in the BRP 50, and then I have 4 matches.
Yeah.
Like you gotta laugh along with it,
Right. And you still made time for us today, so we appreciate that.
Yeah,
and you mentioned that you were in a steel cage match. Was that your first time being in a steel cage match, or have you done them before?
It was not. I've been in less than a handful, despite a decade and a half, plus career. So
right.
With no time off, by the way. A lot of people will say they've been wrestling for 10, 15, 20 years, but it's like you took 2 years or 4 years off, so that doesn't count. So I was going through college wrestling. I was working wrestling, still am. So I have my outside life, which runs congruently with professional wrestling. So
right. So how do you balance that, especially like obviously work and stuff, but even like going to college and doing that, like how do you find the balance doing those things and obviously to reach all the accolades that you currently have?
Yeah, well, thank you. I've always been that way. My mom worked at a Fortune 500 company when she was 19. So she was already. So I inherited that directly from her in terms of budgeting college work, and a full schedule is a great schedule. That's always how I've always looked at it. Like, it's free time is more appreciated when you don't have as much of it. So
right.
So I love to keep a busy schedule. I love to keep moving, and I'm extroverted. That's just it's energy outputting. So it runs with the day. So being a champion fits my my module. If it's my DNA, because it's just
right. Yeah, because it sounds like you are built to be a champion and putting in the work to be, and a multi-time champion at that. How many titles do you currently hold? 2?
Right now I'm holding 2, because I have this and I have the Recombination Wrestling, the BCW World Heavyweight Championship. That title I had for 1,227 days. And then then I lost it to Marina Shafir. She got signed to AEW. Had to mail the title back. and then I had a match. And then I had a match with Caprice Coleman, who is coincidentally on the board for Ashe's board of directors, or he is the commissioner, I should say. So it's funny how I had that match with him, and now he's constantly in my face at Ashe. Small world. Small world.
Yes, it is a small world, definitely. So you did kind of fill this in already, but for those who are unfamiliar with you, and obviously you've given us just a little taste just now, what else should our viewers know about Mr. Darius Carter?
I mean, I'm a very traditional person in the sense of how I approach wrestling. I'm a very old school minded sort of professional wrestler. I feel like it's old school in modern times, so it's not outdated, but it's kind of taking the 80s, which to me could have been the best decade of wrestling. Overall, we all have our opinions, but the way that the crowds were, I look at the crowds as well, not just the wrestling, but how reactive the crowds were and how full the crowds were, and just that style. So the 80s and kind of the 90s, and taking that and putting it into the present. I came up on my people were like the Nature Boy Ric Flair. That was my guy, but also like Nick Bockwinkel, of the AWA. So just old school, intelligent. Larry Zbyszko, intelligent, just clever. I always gravitated to those sorts of personas. I always gravitated to those sorts of wrestlers. So I'm really taking that mindset, bringing it into the present. I am the All Father in the sense that I consider myself the father of all things. And you are all my children. Right?
Oh, okay. That's new information to me.
Wait a minute. There's a new patriarchy in town, folks.
I am the one, the patriarch that you can depend on. I'm the reliable hand. I'm there whenever you need me. I'm the call that will always be answered. When all else fails, Darius is here through thick, through thin, upside, down, whatever it is. And that all started because I was, doing the Father of Change, and I said, okay, I feel like it's bigger than that, right? Because people are kind of using change, and that's how All Father, just the Father of all things. And it was so easily accepted, and I very rarely had to explain it. So it's like people have picked up on it so well and so naturally. And the best things are natural. If you give yourself some name and people are always asking you what that means, and that means you're not doing a good job. That means that I don't see it in when I look at you. So when I do All Father, it's like All Father, and people do the bow, and people are bowing, nodding their heads, and it's like I'm a walking cathedral, and I'm like, that's the point of it. Again, if you want to be a champion, you have to look like one. It's more than just one thing, and a lot of people just want to be good at one thing, and it's like one thing isn't enough in a highly competitive global championship ridden sport. I mean, it just doesn't work,
Yeah. And definitely. And so I think, and stating like who influenced you, I can definitely see that, because we have talked about before on this show several times about how some people who I guess are, would be considered, the Hill persona and things like that, they tend to go for the lowest hanging fruit, the cheapest thing. Where I feel like you are somebody that I always bring up as somebody who doesn't have to rely on those things. You can rely on your sense of confidence and your sense of self and your skill in the ring, and you use that to carry that over with the fans. And I now knowing who influenced you, I was like, oh, it all makes sense now. And I do have to ask. I've been wanting to know this. So my sister and I have been to all of the Ashe shows, I think, except for one, and then one in Vegas. So we noticed that you come out, and there's a song that you use is by Trans-Siberian Orchestra, which is not something I would have ever expected to hear in wrestling. My sister and I have actually seen them a few times live, and so I heard it the first time, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And I was like, "Do you hear what this is?" And she recognized it, and I was like, "I never would have thought that it would work as the wrestling theme, but it works." And so, what made you decide that, you know what, this works for wrestling, and I'm going to use it?
And I'm going to get them live one day. It's going to happen. So
please.
I don't know, where, when, or the how you can figure out, but it'll happen. But so it came to me because of Beethoven. I was looking for something that was reflective. Of course, your entrance theme is reflective of who you are. I want people to know immediately who I am. And I was like, Beethoven, but it's a little slow. I don't want it to be slow because I'm not slow. You have to be on point with me. In fact, if you miss something, then you miss something.
Sure.
So I was like, I need something that's grabbing, and I was looking for different variations of Beethoven, and then we came across Beethoven's Fifth. And once I heard Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and I heard that dun 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 dun, and I was like, I'm not one of those people that's like, all right, I'm 5 seconds in, I'll take it. Like, I do need to hear the whole thing. But if there was ever a time where I was like, I'm already in, it was the way that it, and I was in the tone, and it's a great song is a story, and it just it crescendos, and it just dips, and it's
the flourish of it.
Yes.
It's got that bold, like it gives you just a little bit at the beginning, and then it's like bang. Oh yeah, it's so cool. I love when the people do the remixes. That's why it's fun when you take something like that. And I'm a Ren Fair person, so a lot of times I've heard people do like Metallica on bagpipes. So it's like crazy. Right. It's awesome though. You can do a lot with that, and I definitely agree with you about how the music is a personality. We've obviously seen that with so many people, and we've talked about it in the past. But that's really cool.
It's so important, and I think entrance music is essential. It's like we all watch the Royal Rumble, and then people come out. If your music doesn't match you or it's off-putting, you don't recognize, you lose that crowd reaction, and you only have a certain amount of time to get that initial snap. You want that snap. You don't want them to, let me look at the Tron. Who is that? Who's that? Oh, and then you see him halfway down the ring. Oh, that's who that is. I want it to be boom. The moment it hits, you're like, no matter where it is, you're like, that's Darius Carter, and it's
yeah, exactly. Because the Royal Rumble is actually a perfect example of that, because this year there were a lot of those entrances where people didn't recognize the theme, and we had to wait until like either the name popped up or we saw them halfway down the ramp, and like you said, by then the crowd reaction is off because they have to wait down that really long ramp to see who's coming. And so it is so important to grab them immediately. And then I think also your just whole entrance with your vibe, with the look and everything that you present when you come out, you definitely pay attention. Like you see that and you're like, oh, I need to pay attention to who this dude is coming out right here. This is serious. And now I think most people who come to Ashe, they hear that and they're like, some of them are like, oh no, that means Mr. Darius Carter is here. What's he gonna do now?
Well, that's the point. That's the point. It's like to be at the top, but also have that air of unpredictability. That's the fun of it, right? So I can be at the top at several promotions at once, but I bring a different air to every single one. It's not the same version of Darius Carter. The Darius Carter that is at BCW has a different history and context than the Darius that is at Ashe, who's been dealing with Darius Lockhart. I'm not wrestling Darius Lockhart anywhere else but Ashe. That's pertinent to that promotion. So you're getting to see all these different shades and versions, and you're like, wow, he did that there, and he did this here, and it's like this. There's really layers. I always wanted people to look at me and say, wow, the layers to this. Like I can keep peeling them back, and I can't get to the bottom, and now I'm addicted to peeling it. I just can't stop peeling. Yeah. And that's what I always wanted, a blooming onion. I was like, that's the way to be.
Right, so. For sure. And then
I think that the characters with depth are the characters we all get behind. So obviously, no matter what, whether they're face or they're heel or somewhere in the middle.
It might be wrestlers you can be against. Because you should see the reaction to it when Darius won that title. There's been different pictures, but there was one little girl in the crowd who definitely had some strong reactions.
Oh yeah,
that makes it the best. That's the best, though. To me, that right there, there's two components to that. A, you get a pure reaction, just like you were talking about, very organic. Also, we want the youngins reacting like that, so they keep coming to the wrestling.
Hello, because you get the youngins, and what does that do? Brings the parents.
Right.
And then the parents might want to bring somebody with them. So now they're bringing their buddy, their neighbor, whatever it is. And now you have a group of 5 because of one kid wanting to go. And that's why you have to cater to all demographics. And that's why this is an art form, and this is an art. This is a physical display. It is as real gets, as real as the word real is real. But at the same token, there is art to this. There's a performance to this, right? It's on a television or it's being displayed to you. Therefore, there is a performance element. And, grabbing the low-hanging fruit, as we have alluded to, and so many people do it, and people do it on TV. And it's just like, my whole thing is, if anyone can have that, why would I want it?
Yeah.
If anyone can grab that apple, it's shining nice and it's red and great, but like, what about that one all the way up there? Like, why is nobody going for that? Just because it's not lowered to your level, you don't want to put the effort in to get it. And I've always been the high hanging fruit, or creativity is a beautiful thing, and it keeps you going, and it makes you capable of wrestling for 15, 20 years or whatever the case is, and being fresh and feeling new or feeling authentic, because I exude such a realism to where it's like, wow, like it's almost like you're there, you're in it, and it's like you understand. You may not have understood it before, but when it's in front of you and it's before you, you're like, okay, like you might not know a thing about me before that music hits, but I'm telling you, by the time that I have left, you will have a complete opinion of me.
That's true, because I've watched the shows. Like, I have not been in the venues, but I've been able, by the awesomeness that you guys have been able, by Darius being able to get the shows up on YouTube, I've been able to catch most of the shows. So it's been a lot of fun. And I do appreciate the fact that you use your sharp wit as opposed to using just, like you said, anyone can pick an apple up off the ground and just eat it and go on with their day. But to actually have to think and be intelligent with your wit, and that's funner.
That's the whole point. If we're doing this and we're not enjoying it, like, I'm enjoying every single moment of it. I love it more and more every day. And a lot of people, they kind of get bitter, they get jaded. I'm not here, I'm not there. But I'm like, look at where contract or not, number 4 in the BRP 50, as in top 4 Black professional wrestlers in the world. Awesome. Like, I mean, I didn't make that list. Like, you know what I mean? So it's putting
That's
in,
cool.
Yes, it's putting in the work, and people looking at it and like, and I'm seeing a lot more of it's deserved more than the who is this person. So it's like, again, that's what I'm seeing. So for me to even be at that point, and to be Ashe men's heavyweight champion, to be carrying a culture on my back, to be carrying a company as the figurehead in the forefront, at this day and age, and then having the podcast with Card Subject to Change with Donovan Damoff. So we're doing that. So I'm keeping the machine oiled on all fronts, and that's what's keeping people, I see this, I'm seeing that. They're hearing about me in some form or another. And again, I'm carrying things with me. It's not just me. It's doing this for the brand, for the culture, getting Ashe out there, letting people know that's the champion there. I need to see this. I need to check this. I need to check this place out. I'm going to take a ride to North Carolina. That's, 9 hours, 10. Let me go down there. It's a road trip. And that's what it's all about, is bringing that feeling back of let's go to a show that we know is going to be different. Let's go to something that we know we're going to feel like we're with everybody there. We're going to feel like we're part of the community when you're at that event. And the feeling is unlike anything else. And for me to be at the top, watching this all happen and engineering in my own way, I mean, it's what are we doing this for? If not for successes like this, if not for cultural impacts and discussions and awareness and like this. That's what this is all about.
For sure. And that actually leads me to a question that I've been fortunate enough to talk to several different wrestlers who have been at Ashe, and one question I always ask is, how important is Ashe to the wrestling industry, especially at this time, and to be able to do the things that you guys are doing? What does that mean to A, for that to be happening, and then also B, you are the inaugural champion for that company and for this, moving forward?
So, I mean, it's like setting the tone and setting the pace, right? Sometimes you need to be not the first, because people have done it before. We've seen, Black-owned professional wrestling companies. But to push themselves forward as much as Ashe has in such a short amount of time, because we're a little over a year into their existence, right? But it's obviously been on paper. It's been mapped, discussed for long before that.
Sure.
But for it to have only been, active for a little over a year and to have the momentum, the buzz, we're talking about a weekly episodic, TV series that literally caught you up on everything. If you weren't able to go to North Carolina, and that's one of the biggest issues with independent wrestling, is you can't catch it all. You can't see everything. So even if they're telling stories and captivating, storyboards, things that you want to see, but you can't because they're not on display. It's hard to find. Where is it? I don't know. With Ashe Wrestling, they made sure to give you several opportunities to catch up with the product so you can know where I started and where I'm at now, because it's been a journey even at Ashe. From me starting there from Ashe 1 and wrestling Jonathan Gresham, defeating Jonathan Gresham with the likes of D'Lo Brown on commentary, calling it as it happened. He might as well have counted to 3. He was so close to it. And then we get to Ashe 2 with Darius Lockhart one-on-one, with Ron Simmons watching with Mark Henry doing the speech right beforehand, so this is all the momentum. It's all been building to this. There's no show. These shows are independently standing. You could just watch one and get your fill, but if you stack them episodically, it's a movie that keeps on rolling, and that's again, we go back to, what do we do this for? What position do you want to have? Everyone has their place. There are people that are the tree and they get in the tree costume, and that's your job, is to stand there. But guess what? We need you to be that tree. Okay.
Right.
But I know that guy, actually.
Yeah, I need that tree for imagery, right? If that tree isn't there, it looks a little weird, right? But then there's going to be that person that sits on the throne. There is going to be that person that gets to cross his legs and sip his wine, and not because he's lazy or fulfilled. It's because he's done his part, and he can do that. He has earned. Rest is something that is earned. Respite is something that you have earned. It's not something that, so this is all painting the picture of what Ashe represents and why it's just forward. It's so forward, and it's unapologetic in terms of, here you go, here's the music, here's a musical performance, here's some poetry, here's our culture in front of your face. And a lot of times, once you make progressive steps, it gets difficult for people, and then you kind of feel like you have to scale back. One of the biggest things about change, one of the most difficult things about change, is staying committed to it, because you get so much resistance that it's easy to, now I'm swaying, and the ones that follow you will see you sway, and then it's like, you can't sway. You have to stay steady in the eye of the storm, and that's what Ashe is doing. And you need a champion that is accustomed to dealing with storms, that can get at the front. You don't have to ask him to grab the wheel. I'm already both hands on. I've got it. You do what you need to do. I've got the wheel from here. That's what everything needs. Sports, everything. If you want to be an actor and you should want to be the best. Everything that you do, you should want to be dependent on at the highest level. And that's what being Ashe Men's Heavyweight Champion is, to be the face of the culture, the leader of the culture, the entrusted hand at Ashe Wrestling.
Yeah, very well said. That actually pretty much answered my next question, which was going to be, what does it mean to you to be the inaugural Ashe champion? You were the first ever. You were the one who sets the tone for this title, for who, for the rest of, so as long as the title is around, you set the tone for it. So what does that mean to you to to have that responsibility, and what do you hope to make this title mean as you carry it as champion?
That's what it's all about. Again, it's history because it can't be forgotten. It can't be erased. The second champion, okay, we might remember him just like the second president, right? But everybody remembers George Washington. It's just the way that it is. You know his name at the very least. And that's what being Ashe champion means, is that I was the first person that was entrusted. I was the inaugural of everyone in the room, of everyone in the world. I was the person that held it, touched it, carried it first. I set the pace, just as you were alluding to, because I am the champion to which everyone will be compared. One way or the other, you were going to look back and say, well, that inaugural champ Carter, was he as good as Carter? Did he do this as well as him? Did he talk as well as him? Did he wrestle as well as him? Did he dress as well as him? Well, we know that one's out, but did he what did he do that was comparable, so that we can say, because everyone's going to want to say I'm the greatest Ashe men's champion of all time. After me, whenever that is, centuries from now, the next row of life, people will be comparing to that first champion, to what was done with the title, who took the bull by the horns. That's what this is all about. And think about it. Because of the success of this championship, now they announced the Ashe Women's Championship.
Yeah,
they sure did.
If this didn't succeed, or if this didn't take off, or if this could have been delayed, because
right.
It's not like on the first day, the first thing that came out was how the championships were going to go. It's all been a development process. So
right.
The Women's Championship could have come out 6 months from now, could have come out a year from now, right? But because of the success with this championship and the people that it's bringing in, that attracts big maneuvers like this. Well, we got it. Let's do this women's right now, because we just did Royal Rumble Day in Indianapolis. We then did WrestleMania week in Las Vegas. We're at the site of the biggest times of wrestling commerce for the year. Ashe is right there, and I'm the champion. So what does that say?
Right. Definitely. And then that actually, you bringing up the women's champion was another question I had, because obviously so for people who have not been following Ashe, they are currently doing a tournament, and which is how they did there was a tournament to crown the men's champion. There was some controversy around around that happened. Well, considering for some people it was controversial, for Mr. Darius Carter, I don't believe it was
a strong word.
But
we'll talk about that.
So now there is a tournament that will crown to the inaugural women's Ashe champion. Or I was gonna ask, is there someone that you think would make a worthy inaugural women's champion? Is there someone you have an eye on in Ashe, or maybe even outside of Ashe, that you think could be up there with you also as a pillar of Ashe and representing this company with gold?
Right. And let's also remember the fact that I did win the first tournament in the company's history as well. So I'm setting the tone, not just winning the championship, but I won the tournament to win said championship. A tournament that, and I am going to answer that question about the women, but the fact that I was forced to have to earn a championship match. They wanted to put me in a qualifier match, but I'd already main evented more Ashe shows than anyone in that company. So why did I have to qualify? Why? What am I qualifying for? Who am I proving myself to? So that was the insult that I took. Caprice Coleman didn't like that as commissioner, so he tried to remove me entirely from the tournament. So the most qualified wrestler on the roster was actually taken from the tournament. But
then Jordan Holt was taken from the tournament so that you could get in it.
I had nothing to do with that. That's a shame.
Oh, okay.
I can shed a tear at your funeral. That doesn't mean that I had anything to do with your death. What happened to you? What happened to him was he was in wrong place, wrong time. They didn't attack me. Whose problem is that? As a matter of fact, I saved that show. Because if I did not step into Jordan Holt's place, we would not have had an 8th person for that tournament. And if they did, they would have pulled anyone from the locker room and it would have devalued the tournament. I showed up ready to go in gear. I took my place. I won my matches. and I became the first ever men's heavyweight champion, defeating Darius Lockhart in the finals, just as I'm going to do again June 28th. But to answer that women's question, I told you I'd come back. Yeah. Now, we saw Faye Jackson in the ring with the Jazz.
Yes.
I know that Faye Jackson is going to want to be the first women's champion, right? We also have the likes of Jada Stone, who just had a tremendous career ascension, right? She's now signed to TNA Impact and signed in front of your eyes. So that was, that was a great something we haven't seen in a minute. So Jada Stone has, but she's still going to be wanting that championships, and that's somebody that I've seen her wrestle. I've seen her work. She always is putting everything into what she does. Nothing is half done. There's no 50%. It's 100 or nothing, and I respect that, no matter who she's wrestling. Karen Bam Bam, an absolute threat. Bam Bam and Faye meeting would be very interesting to me.
Oh, for sure.
I've had my issues with Faye. Faye. I've had my issues with Faye in the same way I've had them with Darius, where it's like you're helping the culture so much behind the scenes. But I don't necessarily need you to be in the ring, and I don't need you to be my opponent. Not that you're not great wrestlers, but I need you to do your part, and I'll do my part. And sometimes they overstep their position, which crosses into my territory, so I have to snack up. So Faye Jackson, again, would I like to see her as the first champion? No, just based off of history with her. She could be the second, but not the first. That would be interesting. Just so she could have that, that secondary feel. But again, La Rosa Negra, we've seen her competing at Ashe. So the field, the difference is with the women versus the men, the field for the women, wide open.
Sure.
For the men, it's me and there's everybody else.
Okay.
And that's a fact. It's a fact. And you could be nice, and you might have other ones on your show, so you have to say okay, and you have to be polite. But there's nobody that's going to carry themselves the way that I do. There's nobody that's going to do the things that I do the way that I do them, and that's why I'm in a position that they cannot be in. That's all there is to it. So again, with the women, it's open. There's so many women that can carry this thing. Again, I'm the reliable hand. I'm here because no matter who that champion is, no matter who the first is, at least for the women, who's holding down the house, who's making sure that the pillars are upright, making sure everything's clean so that you can start moving in that new furniture. Let's get the women's championship. Maybe there's a tag championship in the future, all because I'm keeping the house standing. Don't ever forget about the foundation of your home. A lot of times you neglect the foundation. You get so grateful that it's there, and then you kind of just, the house has been standing. It's going to stand forever. Always thank the pillars. Always show appreciation for the people that stand and hold and put it on their back in silence. Even the times in silence. It's not always loud. Every moment I'm carrying Ashe. Every single moment. And the woman that wants to do that and wants to be my equal of that, or at least in perception, because no one could be in terms of inside of that ring. Let's just talk about it. But if she's going to be holding a championship that looks anything like mine and is held to the same esteem as mine, then she better do what I'm doing. So I look forward to seeing who that champion's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're right. There is definitely a wide open field, and I think that there's definitely quite a few women who could definitely take that role as the inaugural champion. And so last year, I don't know if you are aware of this, but last year I interviewed Tootie Lynn, and we were talking. Yes, and Tootie and I were talking about. She said she doesn't really like to say dream matches, just people she would like to wrestle, and so we were going through her list. And one of the people she said she'd like to wrestle is you. And so what is your response to Tootie Lynn saying she wants to get in the ring with you?
I mean, I'm the greatest thing going today. So who doesn't want to get in the ring with me? But let's talk about it. Here's the thing, right? So in terms of how my wrestling is, my style, again, it's very authentic. It's very in the moment. I call it working in real time because I'm not thinking of the next thing. I'm thinking about now. I'm listening to the crowd as things are happening. I'm not I'm not putting something in, oh, okay, that's there, I'll come back to it. I'm very, very active. I'm highly alert. And a lot of people want to be in the ring with someone like that because it's a different style. They're not used to that. A lot of wrestling is kind of, I got to be here, I got to be there, and this, and move, and this. They're not, sometimes you're missing the emotion, you're missing the feeling. And my role and my position is to always evoke emotion, to make you feel, to make you in the moment, to make you present, no matter what's going on else is happening in your mind or in your life. In that moment, when I'm in that ring, you're like, this guy. But you got to watch, because everything is meticulous. Everything means something. And it's a pleasure when people want to wrestle me because I bring that out of them. I want that in return. I'm not just offensively out to inflict. I want to feel. I want it all to be in one. And I don't want us to all stroke a masterpiece. I want us to paint a masterpiece. And to me, the best ways to do that are through emotion, through feeling, through the moment, through just being there. Maybe if I hit the buckle a certain way, whether that was what was leading to the next thing or not, maybe, oh, wait a minute. Oh, and you feel it a certain way, you take it a different way. And now now it's not just a wrestling match. Now it's, oh, is he okay? And sometimes when I'm wrestling someone, I'll do something and then they're like, oh, wait, can they continue? Is it like 3 minutes, 4 minutes in? And that's the feeling. That's the feeling of, wow, I've got to get behind this person now, or it may end. So it's keeping people. Yeah, it's an investment, and making your matches are all different because your opponents are all different. So I'm always bobbing and weaving with that style. So I'm glad that it's great to be mentioned. It's great to be wanted in the ring, because that's what any wrestler should want to be, is desired in the ring. And my style, I pride myself on that. I don't feel like there's anyone actively today that's doing the style the way that I am. I think there are people that are attempting it or presenting versions of it, but I don't think, and it's scary to people because people don't always want to feel. They kind of just want to sometimes do their stuff and then just go home and get their envelope and have their match and check, I did it, Saturday, next. For me, every match matters. Every match is big. And you never know when I'm going to wrestle that person again. I don't know when I'm going to see you again. So why would we not want to deliver the very best that we could right here and now? And then if I see you again, well, look what we did in 2005. It's 2007 now. Like, we're 2 years better, right? Like, why would, so many people, they play the hits, they put the record on and they let it turn. And I'm like, but wait a minute, we can go in the booth and make a song right now, live.
Right. Yeah.
And that to me is, the art of this. That's the stroke of art that not as many people pay attention to. They give it a few seconds and then they move on. For me, that's how I derive my entire existence in this profession. It's all an artistic display, and it's all a moving story. It's all connected. There's never a loose end. Never.
Yeah. You can definitely see that in the way, and in your matches, and the way that you present yourself. And so, leading into that, is there anybody that you are looking for that you would, I guess, even not necessarily a dream match, but somebody that you want to test yourself against, or see if they can test themselves against you, and not necessarily in Ashe, but just like anywhere? Is there somebody that you like, that's what you dream to have, or that you want to have, or you're like, what, I can go toe to toe with that person. I want to see that person in the ring.
I want to see the best in the ring. I want to see the best, period. Man, woman, transgender, I don't care what your background is, where you're from. I want the best professional wrestler. When that bell rings, I want it all. I want the athleticism. I want the persona. I want someone that makes me raise my eyebrow and go, huh, you've got some fight in you, That's what it's all about. I just, that authenticism to me is what I came up on when I talk about 80s, and it was just old school and just gritty, and it just felt real. It felt right. You feel like you're part of the show. People jumping up and down from ages 10 to 80. I mean, this can never be lost. This doesn't have to be lost. We can still appeal to all people through the physical art form of what we're doing. And to me, that's why I feel like it's a timeless thing. That's why I feel like, again, a Ric Flair, because who's not going to want to, look at the person that dresses well, that flies, he just wheeling, dealing, jet stealing, every part of that. There's a person everybody knows, in their life, a person like that, or knows somebody that knows somebody like that, whether you like them or not. And that's what wrestling is all about, is I should be able to see those people in my everyday life or in my life, and that's why I'm connected to them, or there's a reason that I'm drawn to them, to hate them or to love them.
Right.
And that gets lost so much for the moves, for the let me hit this to get that, and there's so much more to all of this. So I guess in terms of people that I want to, I guess if I'm throwing names out, I mean, I want those technical displays, because I've done so many different types of matches, and people know that I'm an exquisite technical wrestler, but they don't always get to see it in the form that I can show it. So, I was like, a blood sport would be very interesting to me.
Oh yeah, definitely.
To get me into because I mean, I can, and people know it and they've seen it, but I can get in there and I can snap you over, I can pull you over, and we can really do some things. So like, I look at guys like Zack Sabre Jr., for example, and I say that's somebody I would love to get in there with, because it's you're feeling it. Oh, here's an arm, what can I do? Here's a finger, what can I do? Here's a foot, what can I do? A kneecap, can I get your neck? Maybe your ear, it's exposed. Oh, there's your nose. I mean, it's every listen. The one thing about Darius Carter is I'm respect every part of the body. I'm respected. So I'll get my piece if I need to get my piece. But
speaking my language,
well,
love me some blood sport. Love that stuff. Love me some technical wrestling.
Yeah, we're huge Zack Sabre Jr. fans here. So
I would watch that match all day. I'm here for that. You always want, like you said it already, though. You want the best.
Thank you very much. So those listening, you know what I mean?
We're putting it out there in the universe so somebody can get this word to Zack Sabre Jr. or Bloodsport.
Yeah, but that's the style, like those types of wrestlers. Again, the Barnett. I mean, I've been, blessed enough to have wrestled some people like the Jonathan Greshams, where I've gotten to have those. Timothy Thatcher, but Thatcher was like 2015. So I would love to have another one with him. And again, just to show that side, because we've seen me in, so many different types of matches, which I think is sometimes underestimated about someone, that you are like, all right, that person's good or that person's great, but you don't always think about the different types of work that I'm putting out. Even this weekend alone, to have a Rumble match and then to have a singles championship defense of the Ashe Championship against Mr. Grimm, and then to go on to Magic and do a triple threat cage, and then to do another match. It's the variety. It's different types of matches. It's different ways to pull you in. And that's another part. Sometimes people just kind of like to wrestle the same people, or wrestle the same kind of, they get caught in a loop, and people like the loop, so they don't break the loop. But there's so much more to what we can do and to how far we can take it. So I'm always kind of looking to the next thing, which I suppose is a contributing factor as to why I'm in the position that I'm in. Because
I appreciate that, though.
That's
the best part of pro wrestling. There's so many varieties of it. My favorite thing, I mean, you kind of touched on it a little earlier, but one of my favorite things is when the new people show up who think that they couldn't possibly like this, and then you get to stand and watch them start to realize that they actually are enjoying it. And it's very fun. So when you were talking about that organic reaction, that is one of my favorite things. I've spoken to many people that are also, similarly are out there wrestling and are very passionate about it like you are. And that's some of our favorite thing, is to watch noobs realize, oh man, I'm really enjoying this. And it's way more creative and thoughtful and interesting than I could have ever imagined.
That's really one of the highest compliments that you can receive, is to take somebody, and just as we had alluded to before, before your music hits and they don't know a thing about you, and then boom, it hits. Now you come through the curtain, here's a judgment. You get to you're getting down the walkway, another judgment. You're getting towards the ring, another judgment. So all it is people trying to figure you out on your way to the ring. So you should be doing everything in your power to make that easy for them. One way or the other, hey, here it is. All right, by the time you get in the ring, so then before the bell even rings, they already know. Everybody's like, all right, I've made my decision. And the ones that haven't, maybe the few that have it, that's a nice little area too, because now you have all different shades of people just as the bell is rung. And now you're literally wrestling to play with the emotions that you have already set in place. That is the best part of what we do, in my opinion, which is, I guess other people don't always feel that way, which is why they wrestle the way that they do. But for me, it's, you know what I mean? For me, it's, it's right there. It's, because you're never going to have that moment again. The moment that you have right now, you'll never have it again. No matter how many times you try to recreate it, no matter how many times you try to do something that you previously did, you'll never be able to do it the exact same way again. I'm a firm believer of that. So capture that moment, rule the now, and the future will literally write itself off of what you're doing right now. So I'm a different type because I am a futurist in a lot of ways, because I do always think about what can come next. And I am one of those people that's like, hey, like, if things are going wrong now, we should do something to try and prevent it, just because it may not affect us now, but it's going to affect people. Right. I'm one of those people where it's just, even if I'm not here for it, I'd like to at least map it out. I'd like to at least see.
You're proactive.
You feel me? So it's like
you're optimistically proactive. Well, that's good. I like it. I'm with you.
Listen, why not, right? Because at the end of the day, right, if you can spend all of your time trying to contribute yourself to something, you won't be so easily naive or pulled into something that you wouldn't have otherwise wanted to do. So the more of a plate that you have for yourself, and the more variety that's on your plate, you're not looking at other people's plate. You're not worried about that. Yeah. And that's been a point of success for me. I don't get bitter or upset. I've wrestled people and they go on right TV right after. And it's like, and it's happened many times. And I'm like, this isn't a coincidence. Like, I'm wrestling people. They send, people have told me they've sent matches against me to, and then, so it's like, awesome. So, and I take that, and some people will look at that and be like, oh, what about me? And it's like, but I'm like, I look at it and I go, all right. So there's awareness. There's something going on, and I'm not in their kitchen cooking, but somebody knows something, somewhere. So, that's a tremendous compliment to me. I look at that and I say, all right, I'm doing the right thing. I'm making the right moves. I know my plate looks great. So I'm not worried about wrestling this guy. And then he went to the WWE and he's in the ID. I'm like, listen, I said, you don't have to be in a program to be identified. People see.
That's a compliment to both of you. Not to just, that's complimentary to both of you. You are both wrestling at a level where a large major corporation is looking into that. I mean, that's kind of the goal, or I mean, not the goal. I think it sounds to me like you are one of the puro types who is really just in this for the love of the game, which I love, because we have had other pro wrestlers on here as well who are similar minded. Collaboration and not gatekeeping seems to be the thing about indie wrestling that I'm really enjoying. I love that the guys like you who have been in it for a while are happy to help a newer kid who's trying to work out their situation. And I mean, that's what indies are all about. Ashi is great. We have a local here too. So I appreciate your outlook. It's very awesome.
Yeah, it's so it's all about building, right? Because if you're building something, you're a part of it forever. That's the history that you've made. So I'm straight up in this game to make history. I'm here to be remembered. I'm here to do things that nobody else has ever done. I'm not here to follow in the footsteps of someone else. How are you going to follow in Ric Flair's footsteps? He's won more than 16 world championships. They're only reported 16. Let's get this. There was a different time. It was a different era. You can't follow fully in someone's footsteps. You have to create your own carbon footprint so that people can look at it and say, well, wow, that's something I haven't seen before. Let me go in this direction, right? Because you want to show people something they haven't seen. It may bring a familiarity to them. It may bring a nostalgia to them, but it's a different footprint, right?
Evolution.
So there it is. And I've always been an evolutionary type of guy. Everything is stacked onto the next thing. There's never like okay, that's there, left it in the past, dead and buried. It's like, no, I've built on that. Mm-hmm. I've built on that. So it's the fresh thing to say. It's the cool thing to say, oh, the past is dead and gone. But for me, it's up. But the past dictated the person that I am today, whether it was something that I wanted to do or something I said, I could have done that a little bit different, because I can control that right now. And then that sets me up for the future. So that's what making this history is about. If I'm a brick, and a large brick that helped build your building, that building, as long as that building is there, that brick is there.
True.
Yeah.
So I always wanted to be the biggest brick, the largest pillar, the greatest floor plan in professional wrestling. That's what I've always wanted to be, where you can have the championship on me and then worry, and then everything else, you don't have to worry about me or my part. Everything else may be on fire. Everything else may be burned to cinder. But the one thing I can trust and rely on, if all else fails, is that man, Darius Carter. That's what I've always wanted to be. That's what I thrive myself on. And how can you do that if you aren't constantly keeping doors open?
Yeah.
And keeping things, because you need to work off of something, right? Yes,
right.
It's me. Yes, it's Darius Carter holding this gorgeous championship, which I'm just getting it in frame in so many different ways. This absolutely
it is nice.
Yeah, we've had lots of comments in the chat about how beautiful that
it is.
title
Nice. I have to give credit where credit's due. That is an excellent championship belt.
The crafting.
They actually really
look at this.
Worked at it.
Look at it's beautiful.
Look at that.
It's really fun, actually.
It looks like nothing. No other title that comes to mind that looks like that. It's definitely an original, and it's
I love it.
Stunning. Love that title.
So we look at it, and it's like I get to be the holder of the best looking championship.
There you go.
Right.
That's it. Champion.
It's such a beautiful championship. They went and made a women's championship that looks similar. I mean, the design is so architecturally flawless that they were like, well, we don't want to completely copy it, but let's take. We get like 80% of it and then make it our own thing. That's what history is about. My fingerprints were the first to be upon this as the title holder. Yeah. I came in with a goal. I achieved that goal, and that's motivational unto itself, because when Darius Carter says he's going to do something, he commits every fiber of his existence to making sure that happens, and to making sure it happens in the best and most aesthetically pleasing way possible. And that's what makes me different than everybody else.
So before we will get to the match about Saturday momentarily. However, we have someone in the comments, Brad, he and his daughter Kathy have seen you elsewhere, but Brad has mentioned that he said he loves that there's only one person Darius is scared of, Azalea, a daughter of my friend who is a huge fan and heals out on him at any shows he's at, and she and Kathy get along great except for the topic of you. So you are apparently a diverse topic, this huge topic between these two young fans.
Couple of middle school girls who have one has beef and one does not have beef, or one has beef and one has louder beef. Apparently, is what
it's a lighter grade of beef, but it's still beef nonetheless. It's still a consumable meat. She was. Yes, that was Saturday. Yes, that was yesterday at Pro Wrestling Magic. So, because there'd been a few shows, he actually dressed up as me for Halloween.
Wow.
So
that's the best.
So when I tell you calmly and with confidence, I am the best thing going today. You have to understand that is the truth, and that it's scary to people. I'm not always the one that they want, so it's very easy to just like, oh, not him, this one. And that's what kind of happens with me, and that's okay, because I'm not everyone's particular choice, because I ruffle feathers, I do things differently, and I commit myself to a vision. So, that again, what do we talk about? Change, progress. You're going to meet a lot more resistance than you're going to meet, in terms of alliance and help and allies. Only once you've made it to the precipice do the allies start to come around. Do people start to, I supported your vision. Did you? Because I didn't see you. 7 years, because I look into the crowd. I didn't see you. And here you are. And I'm the guy that calls it out. So I'm a very, different type of guy in today's time. Again, it really is a traditional mindset. You know, it seems like I'm some type of far-fetched individual, but really I'm a very ground-rooted person, and I remember what was said and I remember what was done. So, you know, just remember and just know that I remember. And everything that I've been through has made me the person I am. Things that other people have been through have contributed to the person that I am. I don't have to do or make the same mistake that someone else makes for me to say, let me assess and maybe not make that same mistake. I won't have the arrogance of saying, well, that wouldn't happen to me. Happen to him. No. If I heard the circumstance correctly and it was something that could have happened to anybody, I will apply it accordingly. I will make sure that I am not in that position and nobody that I'm protecting is in that position. And right now, I'm protecting the culture. I'm protecting the people. I'm giving you a champion that you can look to and understand and feel and say, wow, that man right there. Love it, hate it, not my concern. What is my concern is taking this to another level, getting Ashe to a higher point every single month and making you talk about it. Tip of the tongue type conversation. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah. And so speaking of, so this, for those of you who are not aware, this Saturday, Ashe has a show called Return of the King because Cedric Alexander will be returning to Charlotte, his hometown, also obviously, also my hometown.
He's welcome. Because he wouldn't be coming to Ashe if I didn't keep the mat out for him.
All right, well there you go. So maybe we'll see a match with you and Cedric down the line. So it'll be this Saturday at the Slingshot Social Game Club. This is a new venue for Ashe. Bell time is at 7 p.m. However, so if you are local, tickets are still available. From 5 to 6, there's going to be 2 pre-show matches that are open to the public, and also they're going to be doing meet and greets at that time as well. But we have also learned that if you are not in the Charlotte area, this show will be streaming live on Ashe's YouTube this Saturday at June 28th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So definitely make sure that you check that out. And so on this show, we have a rematch between Mr. Darius Carter and Darius Lockhart. If you have been watching this show, then you're well aware of, if you've been following since the beginning, this has been an ongoing feud since pretty much day one of Ashe and has continued this far. So, you know, can you talk about this feud that you have with Darius Lockhart and, you know, what it means to you and, you know, and talk about your match that you have coming up this Saturday?
So, I mean, it's Darius Prime being me. Right, the Darius by which all life is attached to. I am.
This is a Highlander situation.
See, Mel, you've done a tremendous job of understanding the assignment. I have to say this. I don't have to say anything. You're right there with it, right? Because
I do my best.
there you go. Setting the pace. Setting the tone, and as we've been talking about also, Sam, and that's which is why I love the conversation. That's how you know it's a great conversation, is when you're going back to things that were said in later points, and you kind of encapsulate everything into one. This is what it's about: is raising that level and raising the game. And Darius Lockhart, right? He's the curator of Ashe. It is his baby, and I give him that respect. I've never come out here and said Darius isn't a good wrestler. I've never said Darius isn't deserving of all the pleasantries and all the great things that he's had in his career, the NWA exposure. Darius Lockhart has done tremendous things for the culture and for the people. But as I had mentioned years prior, Darius was given the ball and he dropped it. It's just the way that it is. NWA came, went, right? Now Darius came, did the Ashe, that's fine. But for me to step up and to want to be that first champion, for me to pick up the ball, there's nothing wrong with that. Why is that a problem? Because I'm not the one that they wanted to pick up the ball. I'm not the one that they wanted, the one that they need. And that's how life works a lot of times. The person that, when you're in danger, that number on your phone, maybe you don't talk to them every day, but you know that's the person you call when you need a way out. And that's what I've been for so many promotions. I've helped so many people. I've helped so many promotions get ahead. I look at Ashe. I said, I need to be a part of that. I want to be a part of that. But if I'm going to be a part of it, I'm going to be at the top. And that was a problem with Darius Lockhart. That was a problem with certain people at the culture because they don't like the way that I do things. They don't like the way that I move. But the thing is, the way that I move produces results. And the problem that has been in the culture is that we're not always producing the results that we can produce. We have some of the best talent in the world that could be farther along if we showcased ourselves in that way. What we need is leadership. We need direction. Darius is doing his part, but I am at the figurehead. I am at the forefront. He has a problem with that. There is a problem that I am Darius Prime and he is Darius number 2. That is the issue. I win the tournament. I did not compete. I was not originally set up to be in the tournament. Yes, there were some mishaps that happened that I capitalized on. I'm man enough to admit that. I'm not saying everything happened according to pencil, but the best wrestlers, the best ones in this game are the ones that come out successful in those moments. The ones that shine the brightest when things look a little crazy, when there's a little bit of disarray, I should say, mishap, whatever it is. When there's calamity going on, I'm the one that rises up and makes a difference. Darius and some people, again, don't like certain things that I do. They don't like the way that I go about things. They feel like I stole a tournament. I didn't steal it. I should have been in it from the very beginning. I'm justified in everything that I'm saying. So all these things that people keep saying about how I snuck my way to a title, manipulated my way to a title, I stood in that ring. I wrestled against Darian Benston. I beat him in the first round. Second round, not my fault. Not my fault with Jordan Hall. I didn't call that attack. That's not my problem. I get my bye to the finals. I get sent to the finals to beat Darius Lockhart. Nothing wrong with that. He had one match more than me. You're the curator. That's not my problem. It's a tournament. All I was given, I played with the hand that I was given, and I won the game, and people are upset that those cards were in my hand and not theirs. What was I supposed to throw the game? I had a winning hand. So I played it, and I continue to play it. I beat Jonathan Gresham. I beat Sonny Kiss. I beat Darius Lockhart. I've beaten the absolute best that have walked through that company. I've proven myself. I'm more than just talks and look and the way that I walk and the way that I smell and the way that I dress. I am everything, baby, in and outside of that ring. And I am sick of having to explain myself to people when my accolades are a scroll's worth of accolades. You have to roll it to the ground and it will hit your feet in a few years. That's how much work I have put in. So for people to doubt me, for people to say why I've gotten to where I am, and Darius Lockhart to say that I don't deserve it, or to say that he deserves it more than me, why don't you crown yourself champ, Booker? Huh? Because you know it's wrong. Because you know the best has to show up, the best has to put his boots on, the best has to be the champion, and that's what I'm doing. You curate, you do your part. I will champion the company. That's my position, and that's what's going to happen June 28th. He thinks he's getting this back. He's not. He will not see this championship again. I'm telling you right now. That's it.
Wow. That is some very, very strong words. And that's, what I asked and got an answer. And this match again, if you are in the Charlotte area or can get to Charlotte, come out. This match is going to be incredible, especially if you've been following this Ashe story from day one. You know how this has unfolded so far. And if you were unable to make it, definitely check out the Ashe YouTube this Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern time, because this match is going to be a huge one. I mean, yes, Cedric is on the poster, and the show is named after him. But this match is, I think, one of the highly anticipated matches because of all of the history that is there. And before we let you go, is there anything else that you'd like to say, or did you say it all?
I mean, listen, you asked me the question just now.
I did.
That's what you wanted. You want that fuego. You want that fire.
Yeah, I got it.
Because that man, June 28th, Slingshot, North Carolina. Him and I have been going back and forth. I really just want to drive this home that I am literally putting this man in the position he refuses to put himself in. I need him to do his part, to help behind the scenes, to help curate the event, make sure they run smoothly. Do your part, Darius. My part is being Darius number 1. My part is being number 4 in the BRP 50. My part is being the inaugural champion, something that you could not be because I didn't allow it to happen. Just like how I'm allowing our people to prosper. Because I'm a lighthouse in a dark sea, and it's a crazy world right now with calamity all over the place, but you can shine a light on one thing and know that it's there shining so beautifully, and that is me. It's me. So June 28th, Return of the King. But what's a king to a god? What's a god to an all-father? So that's where you're going to be, June 28th. Check that out, YouTube, be in North Carolina. There's so much coming on after that. July 5th with Enjoy Wrestling. I'll be in not stage AE, which is a beautiful stage. And I was just talking about that wrestling Lee Moriarty over there. Mr. Small's Theater, another fantastic. This is what I'm talking about too, these venues that they have.
Yeah.
Ashe doing new venues.
Love it.
A little over a year in. I mean, we hardly at the same place twice. So that's how you know, come on.
Yeah.
You see, right? And that's these are the things I talk about. Same thing with Enjoy, how they hit so many different parts of PA. It's a beautiful market over there, and they're capturing it. So I have a 6-person match over there. Check that out, the Best Business Bureau. So just check my socials because I
we've got it up there on the screen for the
we'll
people.
Be here forever.
Yeah.
Twitter, you have it right there, and Instagram. I mean, you're already covering it, the lower third. It's beautiful. Mr. Darius Carter. If you're looking for me on Facebook, wow, shock, awe, use the same thing. Mr. Darius Carter, you will find me. I have a fan page / Wrestling's Richest Prize, which also has its own content. So I have some things out there. I am easy to find and impossible to label. That's the type of man that Darius Carter is. So put those eyes out, put your ears out, put your heart out and feel, and you will see me, you will feel me, you will know me. And that is the glory of being the All-Father.
All right. Well, I will be there. I will be in attendance this Saturday. So I am very much looking forward to seeing this rematch go down. So I will definitely be checking that out in person. And Darius, thank you for your time. Thank you for, the energy that you spent with us today. We truly appreciate it. And we would love to have you back.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me again. By time we do this again, I will have buried Darius Lockhart 12 feet into the dirt. So we can do a funeral. We can do a viewing if we like, a flower toss, if we will, a few rose petals at the grave. Maybe we'll do like a live walk to his grave or something. But I have I have to do what I have to do. In all seriousness, I look forward to this weekend. I look forward to putting the brand again on my back for another weekend. So thank you all for having the All-Father. Thank you for having your Ashe men's heavyweight champion. And thank you for having your leader of the culture. It's beautiful.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Darius. It was good to meet you. Oh, man.
Oh, wow. That was great. Thank you. So thank you to Mr. Darius Carter. Thank you to Ashe. And thank you to Chris Lee for helping put this all together for this weekend. And again, so this in case you missed it, this Saturday, if you are in the Charlotte area, please come out. Go to AsheWrestling.com. You can buy your tickets there. This will be the return of Cedric Alexander to his home city his hometown of Charlotte, North Carolina. They are doing meet and greets with him. Jazz will be there for a meet and greet. Khan, who we saw last night on Collision, he will be there for a meet and greet. I believe they're going to do some other people. They are also doing 2 free pre-show matches that are open to the public. And then, of course, stick around for the actual show, and you get the rematch between Darius Carter and Darius Lockhart. And then if you were not in the area, please head over to right after the show is over, head over to Ashe Wrestling on YouTube and subscribe, and you can watch this show for free. The amount of talent you're getting on this show for free is incredible. So definitely check that out for sure. And then if you haven't already, and you're here today and you came to see the All Father, Mr. Darius Carter, please subscribe to our channel, to Fight Game Media, because
Yes,
not
please.
only do you get our show, you also have the Dynamite show on Wednesday. You have, speaking of Strong Style, on Thursday, there's the 5-Star Joshi show. And then there's also, you can see clips of, other shows. There's the Wrap, which is the WWE show. There's all kinds of content here, and a lot of really hard workers that are who love wrestling and like to talk to you about it. And there's clips of the show that you can find right here on our YouTube page. And
for those of you who are in the Discord during the week, thank you. We love talking to you. It's a really fun community in our Discord. If you obviously invites go through GG, so it's gg@fightgamemedia.com. If you heard it here, but we do try and keep it cool, but it is such a fun group. And I know some of you that are even in the chat here hang out there, and we have a great group of people on our Discord. It is not one of these drama-ridden Discords. It's a lot of fun. What's cool too is we have the wrestling chats and we have all the channels for stuff, but we also talk about a lot of crazy other things, and we have a lot of our alumni from the show who are still in there talking to us about UFOs and JFK. And so it's a great Fight Game Media is a really great community. I love it here. So thank you.
Yes.
Thank you
Thank
guys
you.
all.
Thank you for
being come back. Brad, Kathy can come back in the room now.
Yeah, Nikki was telling me all week, and I guess I should have DM'd Brad and been like, hey, just give her a heads up.
Sam and I, we talked about it last week. We knew the risks, as I mentioned earlier. We knew that we were risking losing Kathy for a little while, but we had to take this opportunity. You got to, put the Ashes over, because we need these continuing things, much like CCW, like he was talking about with the weekly shows. CCW and Paul, Cat Eddie's doing similar things to what Darius is doing. And so we see the labors of love that these folks are doing. And real quick, big shout out to our friend Spider, just real quick on his engagement.
Congratulations.
Last night. So
awesome.
yes,
very cool.
She said yes, and big congratulations to those guys.
Oh, congratulations.
Happy family stuff. So
Good
I just had to throw that out there.
Yeah.
But it's really cool and a lot of fun, and thank you guys. And we apologize to Kathy. We love her.
We do.
You got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. Yes. And so so that was I really enjoyed that. So I hope you guys did too.
A lot of fun.
But so a lot happened this week, and we kind of touched on it at the beginning, but we didn't want to go too far down the rabbit hole since we did have a guest today. So let's back it up a little bit, and we'll talk about Grand Slam Mexico, because what a show that was. That was just, they nailed it. I loved that show. And I had watched because my friend had subscribed briefly so he could get the various shows. So we watched the show on the night before. They were doing a show that had some ROH talent, some AEW talent on it. Please, you have to subscribe, and there is a subscription fee for CMLL's YouTube. But if you have the extra funds and can swing it, go out of your way to watch the main event, which was Bandito versus Mascara Dorada. That match was incredible. I saw it got 5 stars from Big Dave. The match was definitely match of the year contender type of stuff. And it was interesting because right at the end, like the whole show was great. That match just capped it off. And then it was interesting because Bandito is putting over Mascara Dorada and was like, I'm going to talk to Tony Khan about bringing you in. And the fans were like, wait a minute.
That's so cool.
Mascara Dorada has been in, he has wrestled in ROH, several times over the year. And well, actually, I think even since ROH has been under Tony Khan, he's been in, but he's been more recently when they've been featuring more of the CMLL talent. And so he's just phenomenal. Brad says that Bandito and versus Dorada was a legit match of the year contender. It was incredible. Best match of the week from all 3 CMLL AEW shows. I have not had a chance to watch Fantastica Mania yet because I was on live coverage for SmackDown. So I'm hoping I can maybe start it tonight. But I've heard Fantastica Mania was great as well. The crowds were just incredible, and I'm really glad that AEW was able to do this. And I think, and some obviously people were talking about Mystico, and I think that's probably what I'm going to remember the most about, Grand Slam Mexico, is that moment with Mystico where he comes. Well, first of all, you get the complete opposite at MJF, who really knew what he was doing. He played that part well. He's worn the patriotic gear before. He wore it in his match against Ethan Page. And they had
that's right. Yep.
Very similar. This gear was slightly different, but it was the same thing. But so then you have him; he's full on into MJF-ness, just really encapsulating that. And then to have Mystico get this incredible entrance where he is using this music that he used years ago, and apparently I think he also used it at the for his 20th anniversary or something like that. Or I can't remember exactly the details, but it was just like, I knew, and I tweeted this and I posted this on Blue Sky, like, I knew that Mystico was huge in Mexico, but I did not realize he was everybody. Like, as soon as his music hit, like, you see the crowd and literally everyone gets to their feet. Then you have people singing along with his theme song. Then there were reports that I saw quite a few posts about how there were grown men crying at his entrance. Like, that's incredible. Like I said, I knew he was huge, but I didn't know he was that huge. And Nikki said it was kind of like Cody Rhodes, where Cody Rhodes now is that person who everybody sings his theme song. Maybe they're not getting to the crying portion of it, but it's that same emotion. And just, it's really incredible to see Mystico have that moment in his home country, but on national TV. And to have that, like, I've seen that entrance so many times on social media since then, and people are still talking about it. And that just, it was really cool. And I'm glad that Tony was able to give him that moment. And then they delivered and had the match that they had. And of course, there was the ending that we had, and you had MJF rip off Mystico's mask, but it was very like MJF, because at first when I saw that the match was announced, I was like, oh, MJF is an interesting opponent, but it makes so much sense in the way that played out, to see that. So what are your thoughts on that show?
I loved it. I thought it was like the best. I mean, it was Grand Slam, but I thought it was one of the best Dynamites so far this year. They've been really hitting on these Dynamites, even the 4-hour ones where I was like, we were even joking because on the live thread, it was like, are we going to stay up long enough? And then it ended up, it was like all these shows have been so well paced, and with the exception of, I think we could do better on the women's wrestling front with 4-hour shows, which is a separate issue. They've been really working, and the Mexican fans were great, and they usually are. I've watched a bunch of lucha shows on, like, I've watched a little Fantastic Mania, but it was just amazing. The atmosphere was so great, and the wrestlers looked like they were having so much fun. And I mean, you can't really ask for a better 2.5 hours on a Wednesday night than what we saw this week. And I mean, I didn't catch Tuesday, but I didn't realize it was happening, so I'm going to go back and watch it.
Yeah. And
then even last night, all the stuff that it built to was great.
Yeah, I thought Collision was a really great show, and we'll get to some of that later. But they really have been, for these to be like, they're building towards All In. We're now 20 days away from the biggest show of the year.
Yeah, their biggest show.
The momentum has been, well, and of course, Double or Nothing is obviously one of their bigger shows, because that was the first one. And it's the first. I still feel that that's their flagship show. Where even All Out is obviously, like, if they have their big four, those are definitely two of them. But All In has become so important, and obviously the first two were in London, and now we have this one here. The first time that they've ever had a stadium show in the US, and they're just stacking this card. But just to have these shows leading up to it, like, they've just been, and they've really, I mean, of course there have been some missteps, particularly with the women, which we've talked about, but overall they have really just been delivering, night after night, with these shows.
Yeah, it's a damn bummer, because realistically, from Mexico City to Arlington is not that terrible of a trip if it weren't for certain other outliers.
Yeah.
But tourists, I mean, in terms of like, you could potentially pull actual fans into that Texas show just from doing this kind of thing. I think it's a smart move, and it was so amazing. I mean, you've got real possibilities of AEW talent being booked in CMLL in the future right now. And
and they do have that relationship. And it's interesting. And I've seen this comment from other people, particularly people who they watch New Japan more than AEW, and they are stating that they feel like AEW's relationship with CMLL is better than the relationship they have with New Japan, that they are treating them like the relationship that we're seeing with CMLL is how they wish the relationship with New Japan was. I agree with them, because I can see where some of that, some of the argument that the people are making there. And I would like to see more of what we're seeing in CMLL happening with them in New Japan. But I'm glad that, and maybe with CMLL, it's a little bit easier travel wise because it is the same continent.
I think more than that, even it's cultural too, because Japanese business is so incredibly different than the Americas. It's just different. We are different. And I know that there is definitely cultural differences between, Mexico and obviously huge. Because of the proximity and because of, I think, the familiarity our two continents have with each other, it's a little different than sort of trying to, I mean, we all have Latin-based languages, so we can all kind of really understand each other, whereas not just the language, but the culture, the barriers can be huge. I mean, you can make a tiny misstep that we wouldn't think twice about that could really be a career breaker. We saw that even with Chris Charlton getting a little hot, and, he got put on detention. He got put on suspension for it. For whatever reason, and I know there's backstage rumors about the really real reasons, but the point of the matter is that it pissed off his boss, and that's what matters the most, because that's who's paying you. I think Japan, and especially right now, when you look over at New Japan and what they're doing, which is, I mean, this Dominion show did not have spectacular response to it. No, whereas you look at, like, this is just our regular weekly show that AEW is putting on. Got a better response from, like, at least my timeline.
And also, like, as people pointed out, this was AEW traveling to Mexico and to Arena Mexico, so they were essentially putting on an AEW show for the CMLL fans, just like when they went to Australia. They put on an AEW show for the Australian fans. When they went to London, they went to a few other cities leading up to it last year. They put on AEW shows for them, and it wasn't as in like Forbidden Door, which is supposed to be, AEW
a crossover show. It's more like a super card.
And Wrestle Dynasty is also kind of, was supposed to be in that same sense. So I think there's some differences there, but I hope that perhaps with the success that they had with CMLL, maybe they can figure out a way to translate that into their relationship with New Japan.
But New Japan all is also three technically work together now, and CMLL and Japan have had that long-standing relationship.
We've seen Teton is part of, I guess now the former LIJ, because that doesn't exist anymore. But and they did have him. That's one of the things I want to watch Fantastic Mania for, is because they did have Teton, Hiramu, Shingo, and I keep wanting to say Bushi. It's not Bushi. But they all had a match together, and that was like their last one for a while. And then Templario has been in New Japan some as well. And so I hope that they can keep that relationship. I mean, I hope the relationship improves. And then also New Japan, even without the AEW stuff, like New Japan is also having their own kind of issues right now because the Dominion show did not get the greatest response, because like we were talking about with Steven about the dog collar match. Like the dog collar match ended up being a House of Torture match with dog collars. For some people but I also know that the Japanese fan base responds differently to House of Torture than the Western fan base does. And so that's another thing that we have to keep in mind. Like, they are booking for the Japanese fan base because that's who comes to their shows. That's who buys their tickets on a regular basis. Yes, you do have a lot of Western fans who come in like, for Wrestle Kingdom and Stardom and things like that. But for the entire year, it's the Japanese fans who are coming in. And so they have to book for them too. And so I think that Western fans forget that a lot of the time, that they're not booking just for us. They're booking for the fans. And if they've got to do what's going to bring those.
Well, and they're rebuilding if we want to. I mean, realistically, they are rebuilding. Now, they were doing a really solid job. And then some of the stuff where they told us like, hey, we're going to get rid of a lot of this House of Torture stuff. And it doesn't seem like that's actually.
No, they added 3 new members.
Bearing out. It's actually going
and they added
they
added 2 of the most annoying people that they could possibly add.
It's interesting. It just made me realize that. So the CMLL to New Japan pipeline was Grand Hamada.
Yeah.
So that continues to be like one of those things where it's like, and John Muse has talked about it a bunch too in the past, but this continues to be a giant, like, this guy needs to be in the Hall of Fame deal, because that outlet is probably going to help bridge the gap between New Japan and AEW, because they have a great relationship for whatever reason. The Fantastic Manias, I've watched them all on my New Japan subscription.
Yeah.
That's where I watch. When I watch a CMLL, it's because they put it on New Japan for free. Yeah. So for me, my exposure has come directly from my subscription to New Japan. Yeah. I hope that helps, especially with the success of this show, because there's a lot of buzz, especially Hangman. But I mean, the buzz on Hangman right now is like, we want Hangman.
Hangman,
which I mean, duh. Let's be real.
Like, and that's what,
even John Moxley wants Hangman at this point.
I think that, I think just that promo from Hangman was just incredible. Like, it's just, and then when you go back and, translate what he was saying, and he was connecting to the fans in such a personal way, but that's what you want in the face of your company.
The good faith effort of a person from another, because I think Americans, especially, we get people look at us and they go, oh, they just want to come to our country and talk their language and treat it like their thing. So the idea that when we go to other places and make a good faith effort, like he did.
Well, and I think, and also another layer with that is it came from a Southern man, which, and obviously, I mean, not that it can't be.
No, I hear what you're saying. No, I think that there's,
because I think people tend to look at Southerners, especially, and I mean, rightfully so in some cases. So there's been a lot of
Southerners. You guys get stereotypes.
We do get stereotypes.
I have a very good friend in town who is from West Texas, and as I joked recently, is that I could quote Nietzsche in this voice and you would still think I was stupid. And it's the truth, is that you get that twang to a person and all of a sudden you immediately go, oh, well, there's a certain stereotype. And I live down south. That's why I went to school down south. So I understand because I got called Yankee plenty too. So stereotypes exist.
Yeah. So it's right there. And so I feel like that just, or at least for me, and maybe that's just because I am a Southerner, but to have that person also represents Southerners.
Representation.
In a certain light, that, hey, not all Southern people hate us.
Or jerks.
Or are going to use, because there are, and of course the stereotypes are obviously everywhere, especially with Americans, like you said, coming into Mexico. But also,
Southerners are way more liberal and awesome than people give them credit for. But unfortunately, because stereotypes exist, y'all get stereotyped.
We do. And so that's why for me, like, I appreciate having a Southern person also being the one to deliver that message. It just had an extra layer for me with that. But listening to him, and like I posted it very quickly, like before he had even finished his promo, I just said, belt that man, because that is the face of your company right there. We knew it already, but he sealed the deal. Like, there's nothing more this man can do to prove that he is the face of your company. You want the face of your company to appeal to people everywhere. And I was scanning through when AEW posted that promo on Instagram, and they posted it with the English translation and the captions. I was reading through some of the comments, and some people were like, I didn't like Hangman until this promo. I didn't understand Hangman until this promo. I'm a huge Hangman fan because of this promo. Like, he didn't have to do this, and this is really cool of him. Or even, I'm still not a big fan of his, but props to him for doing this. So, like, it definitely had an effect, and I think it had the effect that they intended it to have. But I think it was really smart to also bookend the show. Like, you have this man come out and speak to you in your language. And he even said, thank you for having us in your house, which a huge statement. And I'm so glad that he was the one to be the one to deliver that message. And then I just don't know how you don't belt him at All In. And I know that there's also, some people have questioned, was Hangman Page the right person to go over? Should it have been Will Ospreay? And I think he just answered that question without a doubt. And that's not to say anything bad about Will Ospreay, and that
he will have his time.
I think he eventually will be the champion. I believe within the next year he will be world champion. But I think Hangman was the right choice, especially for this time. And I think that Hangman just proved it without a shadow of a doubt. Like I did. And I say that as somebody who loves Jon Moxley, but this Death Rider story has got to end. And you cannot wait on Darby Allin to come back. You can't wait on Eddie Kingston. Like, it's got to happen, and it's got to happen now. And
I didn't get the impression from last night with Jon Moxley and the way that he kind of built on that. I did not get the impression at all that they're going to wait around. This sounds like Hangman is getting his second run, and it's going to be, hopefully this time it'll get booked right and he'll get the run he deserved.
Right. And I think he's been telling this story, this 3-year, we've been on this arc with him. Like, he lost that title 3 years ago, and now he's in a different place he was in, and he's done some despicable things. And you can tell that story. I mean, and not that you can't tell that story with Will Ospreay and, the things that they were doing, but I think that I thought then that they made the right call going with Hangman, but I think that, like, it's glaring obvious that
it's ready. He's ready.
He is.
Now, other than Moxley, has there been another 2-time champion?
For the world title?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Because Swerve only held it once. Jericho only held it once.
Oh, wait, did he? No, he held it.
Wait, Jericho only held it once, right? I think so.
He only. Oh, wait.
The world title.
Right. Yes, because he became the Ocho because of the ROH title.
ROH title, and he's held the ROH title twice.
So that will make Hangman the only
Nope, CM Punk had it twice. That's correct. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Oh, so you're right. That's right. I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it was 2 times. Yeah, that's right. Thank you for that, for clarifying. I had obviously forgotten. And so, but still, for Hangman to be that's still a very, for this company to be 6 years old, to have, especially like you said, where he was 3 years ago, and how that title run was booked compared to hopefully how they'll book this one, assuming there. But I do want to say that, like, I've really appreciated Mox lately. His match last night with AR Fox was great. Really the promo he cut afterwards was really good. It feels like I feel like this is the Mox that we've been, that's kind of been hidden away a little bit. Not that Mox has not been delivering, because for me, Mox always delivers, like, even except for maybe that Revolution main event. That was not great.
Anyway.
Other than that one, maybe despite that, we'll put an asterisk next to that one. But then we got because everybody hated it so much, we ended up getting the match that Wednesday. That kind of made up for it. And if that had been on the pay-per-view, that pay-per-view would have been a 10 out of 10 pay-per-view. So but yeah, so I'm glad to see this version of Mox, and I'm, and he's calling out last night, he's saying these things about the Hangman he wants to see, and he's daring him basically, like, be the Hangman that you have to be, or I'm going to run you out of this company because you don't deserve to be a wrestler. So, like, that's some pretty sharp words, which goes back to the entire point of Death Riders. His things are, he is, yes, I'm still salty. I'm forever going to be salty about that. Always, forever.
I mean, it is what it is, We all have our things.
I will still be salty about that. I will forever, ever be salty that the Hollywood ending was not the main event. Whether Mariah was leaving or not, That was the match that should have main evented, and I will be salty about that for the rest of my life.
Well, and at least you've been vindicated. I mean, at this point, I gotta say, I mean, while we're on the subject, Sam deserves vindication, and she should be. Anyone who doubted her needs to shut the heck up. Big Uncle Dave said that it was true that Athena and Mercedes was supposed to be the main.
But now Sean Ross Sapp is refuting that. So there are two completely different stories out there, which we will talk about because I had that.
Yeah, we got it on there. We'll talk about it.
Let's talk about
I just wanted to make sure everybody was. It was clear that Sam was not some weirdo over here with some weird conspiracy theory that she was fantasy booking. There was literal, actual things going on with this.
Yes, there were, and she builds her stories onto it. She's currently doing it with Thunder Rosa. They've been building their feud on Twitter the last few weeks. That's what Athena does. So yes, and even regardless of what, maybe at some point, maybe Sean Ross Sapp's reporting is correct. Maybe the plan for Tony and Mercedes has been the plan since in 2024, but maybe before that plan, maybe when the show was originally announced, the plan was Athena versus Mercedes. Mm-hmm. And so, but yes, I will choose, regardless of whatever reporting there is, I will go with my gut.
Yeah. And so I will go with your gut.
That was the plan for at least a certain period of time. That was the plan. It obviously changed at some point. I think now we'll get Athena. I'm thinking now more as the days go on, they're going to do Athena versus Thunder Rosa at All In instead of Supercard. Because people, they want Athena on this card. Thunder Rosa is from Texas. Well, obviously she's from Mexico, but she makes her home in Texas. You've got to get Brian Keith on this card as well. And people keep pointing out, like when they were in London, they found a way to get every British wrestler, including Anthony Ogogo and Kip Sabian. They got them on the show in one way or another. In Australia, every single Australian wrestler, like Mark Davis I think his match was technically like a dark match, but he wrestled a local Australian wrestler. So every Australian wrestler got booked on that card. So you can do the same thing with Athena. You can't have the show without her. And that's not to say that Supercard isn't important, because it is, but they don't book it like it's important. Mm-hmm. But so I'm wondering, so what does that mean for Supercard of Honor? Does Athena just wrestle some random woman and she just like as a warm-up match for All In? Do they put her in some kind of a tag match against Thunder Rosa? Maybe that's how they get her on the Supercard, because I think you can't have a Supercard show without Athena. But I feel like they are going to put the title match on Supercard because it is a big match. People have been demanding Athena. Some people have been demanding Thunder Rosa as well. And we've had people in our chat who think Thunder Rosa should be the one to dethrone Athena. I don't think it's going to happen now. I think Athena is going to hit. You've gotten her this close to 1,000 days. You might as well just stick with it and get her there. And so, but Tony has kind of booked himself into this corner. But the fans want Athena, and we finally got her on. He kind of put her in a here damn collision match, but then again, that match also has a story because it's building the stuff with Thunder Rosa. But like, she got a huge pop last night, and that's what people have been asking for, is Athena to be on AEW television. And you need to you've got to figure out a way to do that. And then we'll go. We've got some stuff over here about Athena as it is. Let's see here. Yeah, that's the match I want. And again, not that Athena and Mercedes and Tony are going to deliver. And Tony's promo last night was fantastic. It's what this feud needed. I thought she just nailed it.
She's great. I love her.
It was such a phenomenal promo. And then Crash says that Athena also handled her segment really well in Dynamite to circumvent the 4-woman tag match booking and realign things for potential feuds. Yeah, and like I do need to go back and watch the Fantastica Mania, because I know, she had a tag match there. That, if I remember, I think the match was supposed. She has a match on Global. Oh no, maybe it wasn't Fantastica Mania. Maybe it was Global Wars. because that match is going to be on Honor Club this week. It was supposed to be Athena and Billy, but for some reason it ended up being Red Velvet, and I don't know if it's because Billy couldn't get to Mexico or something happened, and I haven't heard. I never did hear what the reason was. And then they wrestled Thunder Rosa and Persephone. So it definitely they're definitely building that match, and the more they keep doing with Thunder Rosa, I feel like they're setting this, and that match is not going to be at Supercard. I think it's going to be at All In. But again, what do you do at Supercard? But I'm not the booker. So Laurent says, does Toni get a pay-per-view main event before she drops the title? She's a 4-time champ with 0 pay-per-view main events. If I will say no, because I think she's dropping the title at All In.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with no. I mean, I could be wrong. Right. I was very wrong with the predictions last month. Mm-hmm. They played in my favor.
Yeah, we were like wrong on every single one.
So I may be way wrong again now, but I feel like Mercedes is winning at All In, and so no, Toni does not get at least.
And that will be a Saturday pay-per-view, so it'll be a Saturday pre-show too.
Yes, it will. And God, it'll have to be an earlier pre-show because the show's at 2 p.m. Eastern. No, 3 p.m. Eastern time.
Oh goodness. Okay, we'll work that out. So
we'll get into that because unless somehow hotels get cheaper, I will not be making it to All In. I had things lined up, like I found some really cheap flights. I had the tickets. I have friends who are there, but the hotel prices are beyond ridiculously expensive, and so that is the holdup. So unless that comes through, I will not hashtag be in Arlington. I will be right here, which I'm also fine with. I will love being with you, lovely people. And then we can see how wrong we are this time. Laurent says, I need someone to answer the question as to what the plan was for Athena if she was part of the promotion for All In, but not the match with Mercedes. Yeah. I don't know what kind of an answer Toni will give to that if it's asked on the media call. I can try. Brad says, if they do Athena versus Rosa on All In, what's the Supercard match? There has to be a title match on that show. She could lose on Supercard and then win the Casino. I don't like that. I mean, she could, but I don't like that. I would not want Athena to drop her title and then get it back. But I mean, stranger things have happened, and they got to figure something out because they have booked themselves in this position. Laurent says Athena needs to be on this card because I guarantee you Bandito will be on the All In card. Yeah. But yeah, I think. Okay, yes. So who crashed Athena's tag match was on because they did a ROH Grand Slam show that they filmed, and I assume all of those matches will be on Honor Club, but I know for sure because they advertised that match last night. And then so she was not on Fantastica Media. Thank you for the confirmation because I couldn't remember. Billy, Claudio, and Cash had travel issues. I knew Claudio and Cash did, but I didn't hear what Billy's reasoning was, and I assumed because she's been wrestling in CMLL the last couple of months, so I figured it must have been she just couldn't get down there for whatever reason. Laurent says someone needs to tell Toni. I mean, I can be that somebody, but I might get in trouble again. That you need to have more than one big women's match on an All In card. Yeah, because the other All In cards, didn't they all have more than one women's match on the other All In? I want to say. And then we had Jamie Hayter return last year in the buy-in.
Maybe something's happening with Stat since Moxley had that moment with her.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. And they still at some point they've got to do Willow versus Marina. Like we need to get a legitimate match.
That'd be great. I'd like to see that.
Yeah. Nikki says TK will talk in a circle if you ask that. That is true. So Brad has a different theory. The Mercedes isn't winning. The whole story is that Mercedes just wants title, but this one is too much for her. Toni is winning. I mean, I see that. I mean, I can see it. And I think that's why they built it the way that they have. But I think Mercedes is winning that title. I think that, and then it's going to be Toni is going to be having the crash out. I mean, we could be way wrong because we were way wrong. And that theory makes sense. It's a very plausible theory, and they could go either way. But then on the other hand, you've got to get that title away from Toni. Like I love Toni Storm, but she has had that title for other than when the brief time that she dropped it to Mariah, that title has been with Tony for over 2 years. That's been for 2 years now. Like, it's time to, we don't want to have a bloodline situation, a Roman Reigns situation here. We've got to get that. As much as I love Timeless Tony, we've got to get that title away from her. It's, it's got to be at another woman at this, it's getting, because if you don't do it, then when, I mean, of course you've got like the rest of the year, and I'm sure they can build it. And then who do you drop it to if you're not having her drop it to Mercedes, then who do you build? Because we don't know what Jamie, as far as I've heard, we don't have a time frame of when Jamie Hayter will return. Because the reason they did the stuff with Tekla is because she is legitimately injured. Rumored that she got concussed in her match with Mercedes. So, and of course, we know concussions can be a really tricky thing. And so it'll just be interesting. And again, like, I love Toni Storm, and if she retains, like, I won't be mad at it. But on the other hand, like, that title needs to be, it's got to have some new contenders coming after it, and it's got to be on somebody else for a while, because it's been with her for a very long time. Brad says that I can't see Tony putting the only two women titles on one person, even for storyline purpose. Mercedes losing and then losing the other titles under pressure is the loss of the bigger story. Oh no, I definitely think that's where they're going. They're obviously going to have her lose the titles, but I feel like she's going to hold, and I think she's going to hold the TBS championship until she gets to, I don't know what her title range is now, but I think they're going to have her beat Jade's record of 500 days. With that championship. And she'll probably, I think Lyric was the one who pointed out that there's a Rev Pro anniversary show the same weekend as Forbidden Door, and she thinks that Mercedes will lose that title then. She's got the Austrian title that she just won last weekend, and now she has the CMLL championship. So I feel like she'll lose the TBS championship first, but I think it'll be once she gets, or not first, I mean before, if she wins the women's title, I'm saying she'll lose the TBS championship first, because but I do definitely think they're going to have her beat Jade's 500 days as champion. And yeah, they got to start building up other challengers for these titles. I mean, ROH is, I mean, we've talked about with Athena, there's nobody right now that they're building. I mean, yes, Thunder Rosa, but I don't think Thunder Rosa is taking that title from her. I want Queen Aminata to also take that title. I have said that if they weren't putting the ROH women's title on Billy, that I would take it. I would put it on Queen Aminata or Trish Adora. But Trish had missed some time because she was injured, and they haven't really been doing a whole lot with her. But then you have this. At some point, they're supposed to be starting this pure women's tournament that they still haven't started yet, and so she could potentially be the inaugural pure champion. So it depends on what they're doing there. Robert says that after All In, they need to start a tournament for the women's tag titles. I think they're definitely going to have tag titles. I do think they're going to have tag titles, but I don't think they're going to be as soon as people think they will be. And then, I wanted to go back up here to Maria's comment, because she said Athena should have been used to promote All In Texas a whole lot more. Yeah, they've had some missteps with some of this stuff. USVA guy says, thank heavens they took the strong title off of her. The setup for that Tony has done for Mercedes is just crazy. But let's talk about it for a second. Mercedes has all these titles because these companies want her to have them. She is shining a light on these companies just by carrying them. That's why Rev Pro gave her the titles. That's why this company in Austria has given her this title. That's why CMLL put that title on her. She brings visibility. And she said when she came into the company, she was here to put women's global wrestling on the map globally. That's what she's doing. And this is not to USVA guy. This is to people I've seen about, because she's Mercedes 6 belts. And the internet has been big mad about it, especially some men. They're really mad about this. But she is elevating these titles. That's her job. And to say that she doesn't care about these titles, she just wants to collect them, I think is unfair to say, because clearly if you watch the video of Mercedes yesterday where she talks about, so she made history also on top of wrestling, becoming Mercedes 6 belts. She has made history. She is the only woman to have wrestled in Arena Mexico, Madison Square Garden, Wembley Stadium, and the Tokyo Dome. No other woman has done that. She continues to make history, and that's what she's doing. And so that is the woman that I can see why other promotions would be like, I want my title on this woman, because, and she will come wrestle. She will come to the UK and she will wrestle. She will come defend this title. She will come back to Mexico and she will defend this title. She will wrestle. She will wrestle on the New Japan shows in the US for the strong title. If they booked her in Japan to go defend that title, she would go. Like, so I think that Mercedes is doing exactly what she said she would do, which is elevating women's wrestling around the world. And that's how you do it, you do it with 6 titles. That's one way to do it. Then you have, like, Viva Van yesterday tweeted a picture of her and her 6 titles. And Mercedes said, I bet you won't put them all on the line. And I was like, this internet would have, not that I want Viva Van to lose her 6 titles, but the internet would have a complete meltdown if Mercedes became Mercedes 12 belts. And I kind of want to, not that I don't want Viva Van to lose her titles, but I also kind of need to see Mercedes 12 belts just to watch people on the internet cry. And we didn't have this. Most people didn't have this conversation when Kenny Omega was doing the belt collector gimmick. A lot of them didn't have the same argument for him. They didn't have the same energy for him. Funny how that works.
Man,
when a woman does it, when it's a Black woman at that, and one who left the machine that made her, and then she comes out and she does all this.
Okay. Sure.
And yeah, so congrats to Mercedes Moné. I'm looking forward to that match, and I don't think you can have a wrong answer with whoever you put the title on, which is a good problem to have.
Yeah.
And then was there anything else from Grand Slam that you want to mention before we move
No,
on?
that was it. That we covered it pretty well.
Yeah, and Curryhead says that I love Mercedes belt collector gimmick because it's showing her character as shallow as her. Yeah, and it's going back to, and I mentioned it last week, and now that I'm seeing it more, like Lyric mentioned that they're doing the 7 Deadly Sins story with Mercedes and Tony. And Victor Perry was also talking about it and bringing out some examples of how they're doing this. And you have the greed in Mercedes taking all of these titles. You have her being gluttonous by eating steak and drinking wine during Tony's matches, and you have her just kind of flaunting her wealth as it is. But then you have Tony who lusts after all of her opponents. She lusts after the entire locker room. And then she also has pride, because would she say to, granted the Mariah story was kind of before they were doing the 7 Deadly Sins, but Tony told Mariah, I love, you remind me of me and I love me. So like she has the pride in herself. And so then we'll see, obviously we'll have to see, obviously, and then there's going to be the jealousy that we have with, Mercedes covets Tony's title because that's the one title she doesn't have, and how Tony's prideful in the fact that she only needs one title and it's the one that she has. And so we'll have to see how the rest of the sins play out. One of them will probably be when one of them crashes out because they lose this match at All In, and we'll see that story continuing to play out. And so I think that's a fun story, especially to have women be the ones to get to tell that story, and to tell it in the way that they have, I think is a lot of fun. And I'm glad that Lyric pointed that out, because now that I see it, I can't unsee it. And I was like, oh, so many things make sense now. And then Mercedes, Curry had said that it showed her in a spotlight because of her ability to wrestle all over the world. And then remember when Kenny Omega was collecting all the belts around the world, not just the AEW belt, is the same character, right? And then LeBron says, I go back and forth who will win between Tony and Mercedes at All In, but I would do a non-finish and have them main event All Out. You know what, LeBron? That is not a bad idea. that can work, because Mel has said All Out would be if they're not doing it at All In, which obviously I don't think that's happening.
I don't think so. Not with Kenny Omega and
not with Omega and Okada. And now you got
and Hangman and Moxley being so big.
Right. All Out makes so much sense, and I think Mel was onto something there.
I mean, it was just, I was like kind of like wildly fantasy booking, like the idea that there is a show that's so short. The turnaround time on that one is the quickest one out of all of them. So
well, it generally has been, but I think that because
they did move it a little this time.
Well, no, but now Forbidden Door is in August, so yeah, I guess there is still the quick turnaround between Forbidden Door and All Out. I was thinking between All In and All Out, but yes, Forbidden Door.
They spread everything out, but yeah, I mean, I like the new arrangement. I think that'll probably work out better going through the things, but they do still have to build another show after that. So
right. Brad is opposed. He says you can't do a non-finish on this show this big. Sure, they can. I mean, I get it, but also they could.
I'll be interested.
I mean, I like it. No.
I mean, I guess it's good not knowing. It's good that we don't see a clear, like it could go either way. That's a good thing.
Unless you have it in a no DQ. I mean, unless you have it in a disqualification where you have like a Jamie Hayter or an Athena,
or how about? I mean, what if they do what if they do a 60-minute? That would be crazy.
That would be crazy, but I don't see it happening on this card. But I mean, Brad makes a good point, and I'm not saying, a time limit draw could. I think if they were to do it, I think a time limit draw might be the only way, unless they're going to have an interference of somebody, like Amina Shirakawa.
Yeah, I'd hate to see a DQ because that starts to get into weird, like WWE territory.
Right. And so I think if they are to do it, then perhaps time limit draw is the only way.
Better be creative as hell about it if they try to do something like that.
But I mean, Brad makes a good point. But also, I'm just trying to figure out a way that we can do this. But I know Brad's always coming in here with his reason.
Logic and reason.
His logic.
Sense. Whatever, dude.
Yeah. Laurent says, yes, you can. It could be a double pin, a count out. A double pin could be fun. A DQ, you may not like it, but it can absolutely be done. But then the only thing with that is, what do you do at Forbidden Door? Because I assume at least one of them has got to be on Forbidden Door. And so does that person on Forbidden Door get a title match before the rematch? That's another thing, another factor we have to consider is that right after this is, I mean, it's like what, 6? That shows July 12th, and the Forbidden Door is what late August. It's like what, 6 weeks-ish maybe. So yeah, Crash says that he reckons Monet and Storm will be a marathon either way. Stakes so high.
True story.
Yeah. I mean, and like you said, it's fun not knowing.
Yeah.
Especially when we have such different, like you and I think are kind of on the same page, but then everybody, people in the chat are like, but hey, there's this, which is always, it's fun. And we appreciate having the different and making us think about it in different ways. But yeah, so then we will move over to Collision. So then on Collision, a lot of fun matches. Tony didn't totally kill. I was so worried because going into like leaving Dynamite, there were no matches announced for Collision. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, this man is going to give me a bunch of multi-man matches. I'm going to have a 30-minute FTR main event. Going to get a bunch of lucha matches. Then he was like, and then he waited until after Fantastica Mania to announce the 8-woman all-star match. But then he announced an all-star 8 men's match that had FTR. It had Bandito in it, and it was the multi-man. But luckily it was not the main event. It was the second match on the card, but the women got to main event last night, which was great. And then I realized because I went back, as obviously I watched it live on TV, and so I don't time matches while I'm doing live coverage because I generally have to stop and go back and look at stuff. So we went back and we watched it we watched the replay on Max, and Max doesn't have ads, and so the match times are a little bit shorter. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I made sure to put like an asterisk and just to put like this match was timed on Max. So obviously on TV it's going to be a little bit different because there's commercials. So I think they got like almost 8 minutes on Collision, but I think TV time wise they got like 10. But they at least got the main event, and we did get Willow and Taya in a multi-person match. And then we got the announcement that Hologram is officially a member of the conglomeration now. So there is.
Why not?
So yeah, exactly. Why not? Okay, so Laurent says that on TV he had it almost 11 minutes and he timed it. So which is interesting. So then when you look at it that way, like what? Because I was like, what is the more not official time? Because like the match still happens during the commercial break, but then Collision just doesn't. Max just streaming it doesn't because like Dynamite matches we tend to watch on Max, and so they get timed from that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess now I'll just start differentiating like what's on like if it's on Max, I'll say that it was timed on Max. So maybe that way, if there's some kind of a because I don't know, some people may say, oh well, then that's not the true time because there were no commercial breaks. But I mean, I can't help it. They don't have to. I can't help it.
Yeah, it's hard. It just depends on the TV.
Yeah, and so I was like, yeah, I did see, and see, I saw that Cage Match had it at 10:40, and that's why, because I went and looked, and I was like, that match had to be longer than 8 minutes. But then again, I was having to slow things down so that I could write what was happening, and so then I was like, and then which time? And so I'm assuming Cage Match uses television time, not.
Yeah, I would assume.
Dynamite. I mean, not streaming time. So
yeah, I'm not sure. It's hard now that with the streaming has convoluted stuff a lot.
Yeah. Brad says the collaboration is just whoever Mark Briscoe finds backstage for a match.
Clearly,
yeah, it seems like it. He does. The Willow is the only one that he keeps because he loves her, which they should. And Ishii, he will smile for her. So
totally,
she's always on there. Yeah, Crash thinks a good point. Why does TNT censor cuss words? Like Tony's segment was great, but that stuff kills it a ton. Mox was totally uncensored earlier too. What year is it? Networks are tripping.
You know what? I have the answer to this. Apparently, not outside the country, but here in America, our puritanical rulers believe that we are not mature enough to hear bad words. So for some reason, as George Carlin in 1970s did the 7 words you can't say on television.
Yeah.
Of those words, there are only 2 words that you can say on television. What is that? 50 something years later?
Right.
America is we are ruled by puritanical colonial people who think that if someone hears the word taint out loud, they will melt or something.
How dare you say that, Mel, on our podcast? You're gonna go.
I know. Oh my God. And I have one.
We have to be careful and like, and I know I often don't watch myself with the F-bomb because we can get
demonetized for silly crap like that because of the puritanical overlords. But that's really the answer. In every other country, grown-ups can listen to grown-up language. In America, we are too immature, according to our leadership, to hear nasty words on the television. So that's the answer. And the advertisers don't like it because they don't sell as much if F-bombs are dropped because little kids aren't watching, which is really who they're marketing to because that's their future customers. So, yeah. Oh, yeah.
However, John Cena
exactly
can cut. John Cena can say bad words.
Yeah, I know, Crash. It's a silly thing. It's the colonial. We were founded by colonial puritanical weirdos, and so they are very obsessed with really weird stuff. There's a lot of things we could be really concerning ourselves with, but we need to have like ratings on video games and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Beats is right. It was hilarious because Cena, and it was funny because they bleeped Cena, but then he did say mother fudger, and I don't know if it's because he knew where the bleep, because so they bleeped him, and then he says this mother fudging building, but Tony like said she just went ahead and said it, and they bleeped it. Crash said it's all right for Mox to shout he's pissed off every 5 seconds, though. They probably
pissed is one of the ones that was on the 7 words. It's piss and shit that you can say now. The others you cannot. Still, 7 words, 50 years, we've only dropped 2 in America. TF, people. I'm sorry. We can't hear those nasty words. Those are curse words. Those are bad words.
Especially at 9 p.m. on a Saturday, because I think Tony was on after.
School shootings and war is totally fine. Blowing people up, completely fine. Just as the South Park movie put it back in the way back, horrible, deplorable language or horrible, deplorable violence is fine as long as there's no dirty language.
Right. Of course. Yes.
So
and yes,
that's America in a nutshell for you.
Yes, you can say bitch as Okada. And Tony said it last night too. She also
but bitch wasn't on his list.
That's right. Yeah, so we can.
It wasn't on the
bitch.
7 words. The original 7 words. I'm not going to say them because I don't want to get demonetized. See what I mean?
Right, exactly.
The great irony of it all.
Yes, we will hit on the pipe bomb. Believe me, I have some things to say about it. But before we move on to that, we will get to a couple other things that transpired last night, and which we did hit on at the very beginning of the show, is so Okada is not just getting paid by Don Callis. He is a member of the Don Callis family. And I was like, Mark Davis ever coming back? Like, he fractured his foot, and they are just like, well, then we have to replace them. We can't. They just keep adding people. They've added Roppongi Vice. RPG Vice. And they've been bringing in Lance Archer, and now we have Kazuchika Okada. Yeah. Nikki said Chuck E. T just wanted to say S. He did. He asked all the time if he could say S, and then they didn't, and now they say it all the time.
Well, now when you're allowed to say, I think after like 10 o'clock on the TVs, but it's these arbitrary rules. It's so silly. It's the silliest thing. It's very like old biddy behavior. So there's no other way to put it. I'm sorry. I mean, every literal other country, even when we were in Canada, I'm like watching. I'm like, oh right, I forgot. They treat their adults like adults up here.
Wow, imagine that. But yeah, so
and I get it. Some Americans like don't make a really good case for them to not be treated like children. Yeah. But like those are the loud, annoying ones of us, and I don't think that they are as representative as it's really weird here, guys. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, the watershed is 10 p.m. I think that's what we call it here. Yeah, I think at 10 p.m.
I think it's 10
sometimes it's like 9-ish, but yeah, I think 10 o'clock.
I think it's 10. I think it's after 10, and I think
it's when the kids should be in bed.
There's like the 11 to 1 period where you can actually drop like so much. You can allow, because I'm like, they put these shows that are on streaming on regular television.
Yeah, and I make beats. Plus, social media exists and streaming is there any point to having time for it? Yeah. Right. So, yeah, and I think Nikki's right. I feel like Trent is the one who finally got to say S, and poor Mark Davis. Bless his heart. He's just had the worst luck.
He has had bad luck.
Especially because he was really getting on a roll when he got injured. I mean, when they were on a roll the last time they got injured, but now as a singles wrestler, he's kind of establishing himself away from Kyle Fletcher, who is having this monster rocket strapped to his back thing. And how do you stop that? Even though AEW's tag team division desperately needs Aussie Open,
right?
But then you finally have Mark, who's like, okay, well,
and then they made it
Protoshita. It's Don Callis said because it's Takeshita, so it's like it should be like Protoshita, but everybody pronounces it Protoshita
because we're Americans.
It's spelled. Yes, and I think it is technically Protoshita because it's Takeshita. So Protoshita.
Well, if you said it really fast, it would be Protoshita, which would sound more cool, like a Japanese word. But
yeah, I think that Nikki said, and Mark's pedal broke after biking for so long he had to throw it in the bush and Uber home. Yeah, he talked about that last week in his Insta story, that he was on a really long bike ride and the pedal fell off, and he was like way far away. He'd rode his bike far away from his house, and so he said he just threw the bike in the bush and he called an Uber to take him home. So poor Mark. Hopefully I was like, it was a fractured foot. He was supposed to be, which obviously things, fractures can heal differently, but I'm like, clearly he's biking. So does that mean he's like in ring ready? Can we see him? Like, is he going to return at All In? Perhaps, or they're like, no, Okada is here now. And so, yes, I guess this does mean that Okada is not with the Elite anymore, because Don Callis said last night he is an official member of the Don Callis family. So I guess that means he's done with the Elite. I'm sure the Bucks will have some things to say about it. He said, oh man, that Protoshita Kyron, please, TK, can you imagine the t-shirt sales?
No.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Yeah, that's printing money right there with those two.
You have to print the dude that was actually behind the I liked he was wearing the Defy shirt, but it had it said Defy in Japanese characters underneath it. Yeah. I think you should probably do the same idea.
Yeah.
That was although I do have to make Seattle pertinent jokes. They were in Kent, Washington, not Seattle, Washington.
Yes, and I heard Christian say that, and I was like, they're in Kent.
Not only that, but it's so because Swerve is from Tacoma.
Yeah.
So that's not even in the same county as Kent. And so I was sitting there making jokes on the couch about, oh, I guess because Hangman burnt down his house in Tacoma, then they're not, and no one really knows where Kent is. They're saying Seattle. But it was like, we were sitting there and he's like, he's not a homecoming. He's from Tacoma. That's not even the same county. I was like, that's Pierce County. Right. They're in King County. That's just wrong. And I was like, but that's Seattle jokes. So whatever.
Yeah. I will say, bringing up Christian briefly, that was the awesome low light of the show. Was that promo just reeked of WWE? I hated that promo.
He was doing such a good job at first.
They slut shamed Mama Wayne. Yeah, I was like, they slut shamed Mama Wayne. Then Christian is taking shots at Big Bill's sobriety, and I was just, this reeks of the company that you both used to work for. Please stop.
He started out so great when he said that thing about getting into my time.
Yeah,
and then he said all that stuff, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, really just killed it. And I was like, please don't revert back to that stuff. And then Big Bill is like playing into it, and Nick's just standing there while he's insulting his mother instead of like going and beating his ass.
That ended up. That started out okay, and it kind of veered off into icky WWE territory that I didn't.
This was gross. I was like, please. I know WWE brain sometimes just sticks with you and it just comes out.
Yeah.
And then he butchered the line on top of it, which made it even
worse.
Not great. Yeah, low gutter heat is it for real. And Brad says that Callis kept hyping up Okada as the best Japanese wrestler with Takeshita right behind him. I wonder if that leads to a split. I could see that happening, especially
awesome
with Takeshita getting ready to go into the G1. He'll be away, and I've said that as much as I love Takeshita on my AEW television, Takeshita needs to stay in Japan for a while. He and Kyle are doing so much similar stuff that gotta separate them for a bit, and maybe longer than the G1. Maybe after Forbidden Door, you send them back to Japan for a little bit. But you could turn Takeshita face for the G1. That would be interesting. And he did drop the never open weight last week at Dominion. So yeah, there's that too. So G1 should be almost G1 season, which Mel and I love here.
Yeah.
God, please. Yes, Brad. Yes. Ibushi looks healthy.
He does look healthy. He looked great.
He looks so good. I hope that he's in a better place mentally.
Me too.
From what I've seen on his social media, he seems to be doing well. I mean, he's still doing Ibushi things. Which
he was always a little
I'm glad he's still doing those things. But yeah, I hope that this run goes better than the first one did, because I love that guy, and I don't want him to go out the way that he almost did in Noah.
Yeah, no.
Yes, Kyle would be very sad if his work wife got stuck in Japan for a while, but yes. And yeah, Amigbeat says that he's already over like mad, and it seems like the face of Japan. Yeah, the Japanese fans really do seem to love Takeshita, which they should, because he's incredible. And so
in Japan is a lot of good.
Yeah, for sure. Yes. And so, yeah, the other big thing was that Ibushi, well, first of all, Don Callis kept making the point that Kenny has no friends. Also, he said the most unhinged line I think I've heard in a while when he said, when they showed the replay of Okada doing the elbow drop off on the stretcher, bleeding everywhere. And he said you could almost smell the diverticulitis through the screen.
Lovely.
What does that even mean? That is one of the most
Dawn.
unhinged things. I was like, oh my God. So then Dawn says, he has no friends. Nobody likes Kenny. All of them are gone. Mark Briscoe's like, now wait a minute. Like, that's my buddy. I just came and defended our friendship last week because you took him out. And and he was like, but he has another friend. And here comes Kota Ibushi, which I said if you missed the beginning of the show, I don't know why I never even considered the possibility that they'd bring Ibushi in, who when he's so integral to the story between Omega and Okada. And then obviously we talked about Don Callis getting added in. Of course, Don Callis has to be involved in this match. It makes sense. So for whatever reason, Nikki said it entered her brain, but did not enter mine. And until it was getting ready to happen, and I was like, wait a minute, Ibushi is back. And so, and of course, you had the internet, some portions of the internet crying because this happened on Collision and not Dynamite because they don't watch Collision, so it shouldn't have happened there.
Well, that's too bad. I'm kind of tired of that complaint. Brad says it online all the time. I agree with him 100%.
Yeah.
You complain that nothing ever happens on the show, and then stuff happens on the show and you complain. Well, pick one. It's Collision. They're trying to make a show. They're trying to make it a not be show.
We have 20 days to build the story. Like,
it's a 2-hour show. It's not Rampage. They need to be putting stuff on their 2-hour show on Saturday night.
Those of us who do watch Collision, we should be rewarded with cool shit sometimes.
Regardless of the fact they have 2-hour shows that need to be filled and advertised.
Yeah.
The end. They have a talent pool that's large enough to do that.
Yeah, and they're not going to bring Kota back in Mexico. And also, Washington is not that far of a flight from.
Yeah, I was going to say getting to SeaTac from that's a straight flight.
Right. So that's
when you go. A lot of times, if you were going to go there from this part of the country, you would go through SeaTac.
Right. And yes, I guess then people are going to have their argument. Well, they're going to be in Seattle on Wednesday. Okay. Well, he's already here then. Like, again, we have 20 days to build this, to continue building this match and building this show. So you can't bring him in when they're in Mexico. They're not going to bring him in then. So of course it makes sense that they're going to bring him in on the first show back, and they're going to do it in the show in Washington where he can easily get to. I knew what you meant. Curryhead says, I think the IWC needs to stop treating Collision like Rampage. Collision is a decent show and it should be treated like an A show. Collision, there are times when Collision is the better show. Agreed. The wrestling is better, the storylines are better, especially coming out.
Dynamite has only just recently come back.
Right. And if you go back as far as the C2 last year, Collision was having the better shows during the C2 and right after the C2. Collision was having the better matches and the better storylines, and they wwere much better than the Dynamite shows. So I get it.
I was tuning out Wednesdays and more into Saturdays. So
yeah, and I know it's on an unfortunate time. It's on Saturdays. It's on at 8:00. It's not the best time for people who aren't home with kids or various things like that, and I get that, but.
It seems
that's where the show is, and the show is doing there. That's where TNT wants that show, and it's on Max, and so they've got to treat it just as important. That's the thing is he's been saying since Rampage isn't there, we have to treat them equal. We don't want an A show and a B show. Both shows are equally important, so you have to have important things on them. So that's when people made that. They had that same. I mean, they've had the argument multiple times, but when Athena came and she stared down Mercedes. They cried about it. And then some of those people who are crying is because they live stream when they watch wrestling, they live stream on Twitch and they don't do Collision. And so they were mad that it happened on Collision because then they couldn't make money off of their reaction to it. So that's probably the same thing.
World problems.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. Because Crash says the Collision was great this week. Totally had an A show vibe. Maybe it's because it followed Grand Slam Mexico. It needs to be it just needs to be steady on its consistency. Yeah, I agree with that. And that's obviously, and you have to say, I mean, they are coming off of a show in Mexico, and you kind of have to go with who's available and who can travel, because like during the Paragon match, Kyle O'Reilly was not there. I don't know if Kyle O'Reilly just had travel problems, or if he had something else going on, but he wasn't in that match. It was Adam Cole and Roddy Strong and Daniel Garcia and Bandito. And so, it may have just been who could, because obviously Cash couldn't get into Mexico, but he wrestled last night. Billy was there last night as well. So, and Claudio was not, but I'm sure that, and then you got to see who's beat up coming out of those shows, because like Bandito wrestled a lot this week, and he still wrestled last night on top of that. Like, so I thought Collision was really great. And you have to, I think that's also another thing. You can't have that great of a show at Grand Slam Mexico and then have a shitty Collision.
Follow it up with the fall down.
Yeah. And then try to build it back up the next week. You got to keep the momentum going. And I think that they did a really good job.
I thought it was great. I thought that following up with Ibushi being on Collision was exactly the thing. I thought it was, again, it makes people tune in. That's the entire point. These things are funded by advertisers. They wouldn't be on television. We need them. There's a reason why they added another extra hour to SmackDown on the regular TVs. They need that ad money.
Which I think is finally going back to 2 hours in August. if the Variety report is correct. This new show called Rainmaker, not about Kazuchika Okada, but about based off of the book, The Rainmaker, and the movie. Then it will be
the John Grisham book.
Wait, is that who it was? I know it's based off of the movie, but isn't it also based off of a book as well?
Yeah, there was a book and a movie.
But yeah, so I believe, from what I understand, that's what the show is. It's a series based off of that. And it will be on Friday nights at 10 p.m., which should mean, knock on wood, that should mean SmackDown goes back to 2 hours in August.
Awesome.
Not going to get super happy until WWE makes that announcement, but it seems realistic. It seems like that's the case. So, listen, I'm just making sure people know that's just not about Okada.
Throw that out there. What?
USVA guys, so keep in mind there's a distinct possibility that Kesha does not return full time to AEW. I said that last year, that the fans love him.
Wouldn't surprise me.
3 contracts. Again, I love he and Kyle are on such parallel runs that they're doing nearly identical things. One of them has got to surpass the other at some point. And I think leaving Takeshita in Japan, leaving him there, but like letting him stay in Japan might be the best thing for what Kyle is doing. But I mean, America's booking AEW's booking sure, it will suffer to an extent without Takeshita, because he's Takeshita. Look at what he's doing. But I would not be surprised if he stays in Japan, especially because he also has the DDT contract as well. And so he's got to fulfill whatever dates he has with that. So I would not be surprised if that happens. I don't necessarily think I'd be mad at it either. I mean, yes, on the one hand, I love seeing Takeshita on my TV every single week. I'm spoiled like that. But I watch New Japan, so I can watch him wrestle there too. Maybe sorry, Tox, your greatness is too much for the wrestling world. You stay in Japan. You can have your Cinnabon there. Actually, no, you're a heel and you're not allowed to have that anymore. Let's see. Let me go back up here. Curry had asked, how do you think that's going to last, ladies? What are you? Obviously, our things come up in a delay, so I am not positive what you're referencing. So if you could clarify that, we can answer that better for you. Unless Mel understands what you're talking about. But
no, I missed it. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
So sorry about that. Yeah, it just, our things come up on a delay on here for us, and so
Taka being in Japan is kind of that's kind of a no-brainer. It seems like a big, and I would not be. That wouldn't shock me at all.
Yeah,
especially with them. It would definitely suck for AEW. I think Japan needs him bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's a giant. Yeah. I mean, not that he's not a big star here, but he's like a superhero over there, and a lot of those promotions need a superhero right now.
It took them a while to even book him because, like, remember they first brought Takeshita in, and we were like, "Oh hell yeah!" They brought in Takeshita, and then they just kind of didn't really do like they did some stuff with him, but not as much. But it took them a while before they actually took the time to establish him, and things like that. So, yeah, and I mean, I guess it's a good problem to have if you're Takeshita. You have people all over the world. And I guess, also is Yuka, is she based here? Is she here in America or is she based out of Japan? Is she she's signed with AEW, but they don't ever use her. So is she based out of Japan? I mean, that could also potentially play into, that as well. Oh, the 2-hour SmackDown. How long do I hope it lasts? Forever, I hope. I hope when they move back in August, because I believe the show starts. I can't remember the premiere date off the top of my head. I just remember it's supposed to be in August. So hopefully it does, and hopefully
the only time I guess they would do it is when the show is in off season for like hiatus for summer.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Curryhead says that Yuka is based in Japan, so then that might be another reason that he wants to spend more time there. If that's the case, I'm sure that definitely plays into it. Yeah, so I guess we will get into this. Unless we have anything else you want to mention about AEW before we move into
we can get through this last thing here.
Sorry that sorry for ending the show on this note. Hopefully it won't be awful. So it's almost 14 years since the John Cena CM Punk feud from 2011. It's almost 14 years since the Pipe Bomb promo. And so because of this feud, WWE decided we're going to have John Cena cut his version of the Pipe Bomb. So the show closes. The main event is supposed to be John Cena versus Ron Killings, who apparently they've gone back to calling R-Truth. Like the graphics said R-Truth, commentary was calling him R-Truth. So I guess they're not calling him Ron Killings anymore. I don't know I don't think they know what they're doing.
Well, apparently that tracks.
Yeah, on brand. So we finally get this. They finally get this match, and we get the main event, and then we're seeing a different side of R-Truth. We are seeing Ron Killings. We're seeing somebody who's more aggressive in his match. He gets in a ton of offense, and John Cena can't stand it, and just is like, I'm leaving. Takes his belt, he leaves. Ron Killings follows him up and was like, "You're not walking out on our match." So of course John Cena clocks him. The bell rings because it ends and the match has been thrown out now. Well, CM Punk's music hits because obviously that's his opponent for Night of Champions next week in Saudi Arabia, assuming that show's still going to happen. From what I heard a few hours ago, there had not been an update on what was going to happen with the Saudi Arabia show. There's supposed to be 2. SmackDown is supposed to be in Saudi Arabia on Friday. Night of Champions is also scheduled. Do they reschedule it? And maybe, because Nikki and I were talking about last night, I was like, I guess they could hold it in the PC, in Full Sail, but I assume because Saudi Arabia pays lots of money, they would just postpone it if it gets to that point. So we shall see, but as of right now, that is the plan. So CM Punk comes out, they like exchange blows, and John Cena pulls out the Slim Jim table they've been using lately, which is literally a table with a big Slim Jim logo on it. Puts it in the middle of the ring, sends CM Punk through it, much like back in 2011. John Cena went through a table before CM Punk cut the original Pipe Bomb promo. So John Cena grabs the mic, sits on the turnbuckle, and it was just, I hated all of it because it was very inauthentic. Obviously 2011 WWE, there's a lot of difference between that 2025. CM Punk was doing that storyline, was the hottest storyline going. CM Punk was cutting a promo that had not been cut like that on TV in a very long time. He was saying things that kind of blurred reality and fiction. Like it just worked for that's why it's still talked about 14 years later. Like that promo made such a huge impact because of the way it was. So this was and I get it. John Cena was basically just doing a parody of the promo, but it was also just felt like a dig at CM Punk. And yes, and regardless of what you feel about him, just knowing how WWE treats people that have left them, gone and made a name for themselves elsewhere, and then come back or have done something to piss them off. Trevor Dane pointed out how Dusty Rhodes got stuck in polka dots. We had the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club. This was all to put people in their places. It feels like that's what this was. It feels like, because John Cena, if you remember, I talked about last week, John Cena cut this promo about Ron Killing saying the fans shouldn't think that they have power. They are not the reason R-Truth got his job back. And all these things I told you, it felt like Paul Levesque wrote that promo. Yeah. Feels like Paul Levesque wrote this promo too. And of course they were trying to do some callbacks to the original because John Cena looks into, so he says, what did he say? He's like, oh, I said a curse word, kids. That means this segment's gone off the rails. And it was just really, I hated it. It was really pandering and pathetic. And just, it was, I know it was a parody, but it was just the heel version of John Cena just is not working for me. As I wanted it to work. And some people really enjoyed this. I think it's more of they hate CM Punk. So, which I get. And yes, you can say, sure, both things can be true. CM Punk can be a hypocrite for going back to WWE. He can be a hypocrite for going to Saudi Arabia. But that also doesn't mean that WWE doesn't have a history of being petty and doing very petty things and doing things because they can. Like, there's no reason this match had to be in Saudi Arabia. Like, this match should be a SummerSlam match. Like, if you're looking back at it, the way that this was built, the way that this character was, this is the SummerSlam match. It should have been built this way. They're putting it in Saudi, unless it was, which the Crown Prince has made requests for matches before and wrestlers before. I mean, some living and some dead. Apparently he requested Yokozuna before and Ultimate Warrior. Both of those wrestlers were deceased. But then he's also
that's gonna be tricky without a cleric or a necromancer or something.
Right. And so, I mean, this was back in the day, but like in the early part of this, but he's also, if I remember correctly, he also requested DX, and that's how we got that DX match. I believe he also requested Goldberg. So sure, it's possible that he was like, I want to see CM Punk and John Cena. But I think WWE, because they can, and because he made that tweet about The Miz so long ago, they're going to make him eat his words, and they're going to make him have this match because they can. So again, both things can be true. He can be a hypocrite, and they can also be the petty people that they have been for decades, because where did Triple H learn this from? His father-in-law that he's been around forever. So both things can be true. But so this promo was just really dumb. So then he asked, so let me pull it up, because of course I wrote about it from I hated, because I hated it. Really, I hated it a lot. And so, and also an interesting thing, I have this in my notes as I pulled up what I wrote, which is interesting. So earlier in the night, they did this vignette building up, talking about the history between John Cena and CM Punk to build to this feud. They showed parts of the pipe bomb, but they scrubbed the part where CM Punk told John Cena that the only thing that Cena was better than him at was kissing Vince McMahon's ass. They scrubbed that from the promo before they did this.
Shocker.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so you can kind of see what they're doing here. So then Cena does a call back to that line and says that Punk is better than him at one thing, and it's called being the best bullshit in the world. Like, he had some good lines here and there. It just, everything else kind of fell apart around it. So then he's like, so Cena's like, you don't have, again, this theme of you don't have any friends in the locker room. We just did this with Kenny Omega, but also CM Punk has no friends in the locker room. John Cena claims that he is his only friend. Then he's just talking about how, he's better than Punk and spends all the time doing that. But then he looks him. So obviously one of the infamous lines from the original pipe bomb is when CM Punk looks in the camera and says, "Hi, Colt Cabana." John Cena's version of this is he shouts out Claudio Castagnoli, Nick Nemeth, and Matt Cardona, who he is legitimately real life friends with, apparently, from what the internet says, John Cena, Claudio Castagnoli, and Seth Rollins are in a group chat together. Like, so that's how close these people are. Some people have tried to make, which on the one hand, it wouldn't surprise me. On the other hand, it does seem like a reach. But some people think their theory is that he said Claudio Castagnoli because those are the same initials as Colt Cabana, and that Nick and Matt are references to the Young Bucks. But John Cena has no connection to the Young Bucks. John Cena is not friends with them. There's no connection there. So yes, it could be, but also I think those are just his legitimate, like, real life friends. And I think that's where that was. But some people were like, oh, that's what that means. It's where they're playing chess instead of checkers. Like, I was like, relax.
I think that some of what I heard too was that there was some concern from WWE staff about his fragile ego. And so they actually didn't want to even broach the idea because Cena had actually, I think, from some of the things I heard, wanted to potentially say it, and they were like, "F no."
Yeah, and I had heard that. And that's what some people said. Like, if they really wanted to make this, like, if they wanted to really do a pipe bomb, then it would have made CM Punk mad, but it would have also made WWE mad.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's too many. This is too much ego for one.
Oh, ring. Sure. Yeah, and I get it. No. But then you also, like, so there's
and grudges.
So there's all of that. But then, like, I think the one line that really stuck with me is he's like, you're not anti-TKO, you're Mr. TKO. And I think he said something like, let me see if I have the exact line. He said that he's Mr. TKO and said something about how, like, they took his balls. But John Cena is the one who went on a podcast in April and said, I love Vince McMahon and I don't care who knows it. Like, so okay. This is the pot calling the kettle black, my guy.
Yeah.
Like, you're corporate, besides Cena, I mean, like, Seth Rollins to me is a big corporate shill for WWE. Huge. But John Cena is like corporate shill number one. Like, like everybody's trying. So the comment just made, I'm like, my guy, you defend Vince McMahon publicly. Like, please.
Yeah, right.
Shut. And I know why and like, it's just like, this is not working the way you think it does. And then I also just kind of felt like the timing is interesting because he also makes, I mean, this was a really good line. He said, you change your values, though, as much as I change my t-shirts, which is clearly probably referencing the tweet to The Miz. However, CM Punk was photographed at the No Kings protest last week. Then a few days prior to that, there was the Army birthday thing that Trump was at, and they sent Cody Rhodes, Bianca, Montez, and I believe one other wrestler. They had them attend that same event. And we also know that Linda McMahon works for the Trump administration, and Trump is a WWE Hall of Famer. So it also kind of felt like we're calling you out for protesting against a man that we have a good relationship with.
Ally.
Yeah. So it just kind of felt like, so all of this, I think it felt like, I'm like, why are you, I don't know. It just, all of it just felt very, and again, I said, CM Punk's promo worked when it did because it was authentic. The promo now was inauthentic. It was a parody. It felt like we were just doing it for the sake of doing it. And then, so the last couple of promos that they've had between John Cena and CM Punk, they've almost set it up where, like, CM Punk has to win, but we know he's not going to. Like, John Cena's not dropping that title to him. He's most likely dropping it back to the theory that most people see, and it seems the most obvious, and it probably is what's happening, is Cody Rhodes because now they've changed it. So the winner of King of the Ring tournament gets a title shot at SummerSlam. Winner of Queen of the Ring gets a shot at SummerSlam. So it feels like Cody Rhodes is going to win King of the Ring, and then he's going to take the title back from John Cena at SummerSlam. So if CM Punk is not winning these things, like, then what is the point of this segment other than we're going to mock you, we're going to mock this, and we are mad about what happened when you left 14 years ago. You worked for a rival company. You're only here because you got fired from there. you would probably still be there if you had not done the things that you have done. So we'll give you the main event of WrestleMania, but then we're gonna humiliate you afterwards because
sounds
we
about
can.
right.
So because we can, and so I hated everything about it. It just, and some people, then I got online, and like some of the people I was watching with Slack, they hated it in the beginning, and then towards the end they really liked it. But then I opened Blue Sky, and people were just loving it and thought it was just like the greatest thing ever. And I was like, did we watch the same segment?
Always gonna be.
I know that's how wrestling is. Wrestling is subjective, and we all have our opinions. But I was just like, wow, that landed for me way different. Me and Nikki, it landed for us way differently. And Nikki made a comment that made me laugh. Nikki said, why couldn't CM Punk keep his hands to himself? Go back into, oh no, what she said, I wish we could go back in time where CM Punk would keep his hands to himself, so I didn't have to listen to this promo.
Nice job. High five, Nikki. True story. I mean, I only saw clips and I saw the reactions to it because I don't spend time with that stuff, but it was kind of there was a diverse reaction to it.
Yeah. There was a diverse reaction to it, but I was like, yeah. And I'll get to some of the comments because I'm sure I know there's some thoughts there with that, but we're talking about, there's some stuff about the Yokozuna stuff that let's see. So Curryhead says the CM Punk promo was a promo that was like in the late 90s and felt authentic. That was Cena promo. That Cena promo is a 14-year-old copycat of a classic. Right? Yeah, it definitely came off as because you can't. And even Darius Carter talked about this earlier. Like you can't recreate that same thing twice. Something is going to be different. You can't. Obviously the phrase is catching lightning in a bottle, which you can't do that here. And I guess that I don't know that this was really an attempt to do that more than it was. Let's make fun of CM Punk. Let's make fun of, and because he's a heel now, and he's trying his best to be the heel here, and CM Punk is the babyface in this situation or in this current storyline. It just didn't work on multiple levels, at least for me. And I make beat said Cena was saying that Triple H wanted to say to Punk just what he did through him. Yeah, that's what I felt, that it was through a script, that I felt that Paul Levesque was using John Cena, and I wrote it in my hated. I felt like John Cena was a mouthpiece for the doofus son-in-law because he. See, it's apparently Paul Levesque has never forgotten that line has been waiting for the perfect opportunity to make him pay for it. And again, I'll say, obviously, two things can be true. CM Punk can be a hypocrite, but also they are petty as ever, and they will find ways to. This is right out of Vince McMahon's playbook. This is what this man has done for decades, and it's very obvious that's how. So these last two John Cena promos have come off like Paul Levesque wrote them and was like, "Go read this, please.
Go read my words in your mouth."
Right, exactly. Crash TV said, "My middle management boss wrote that promo for your information."
So true.
Yes. Let's see here. I make beat says Punk's friend is that big old bag of money. Yes. Brad says apparently the match was done because when Punk did his pipes on the match was R-Truth versus Cena. I don't remember because I'm old and it was too long ago. Somebody said that Claudia, and I don't know how accurate this is because I didn't go look this up, but somebody also said that John Cena said Claudio's name because the night that when CM Punk walked out of the company, he was supposed to wrestle Claudio, and apparently Claudio was like excited about it, and Punk is like, "Sorry, this match is not happening," and he peaced out. I don't remember the details of that again because that's a long time ago. Do you know how much wrestling I have watched in the last 14 years? But Maria says this is more of a firecracker than a pipe bomb.
True story. One of the little ones that you just toss, like the smoke.
Yeah, the little poppers. The little poppers. I make beats that I legit stopped watching wrestling in the 2000s because the guys like Cena, at least he can admit it, and he's a Hollywood shill.
Yeah.
Oh, and we all know it's just like The Rock. The only reason he came back to WWE was because there was a writer's strike and there was nothing else for them to do.
True story.
He said, "Man, this is some kind of final run for Cena at LMAO. What a legacy! Here's how to kiss the ass proper like you mean it."
Correct.
If that doesn't sum this up,
that's how you. I mean, this is his legacy, and that's how he wants to play it. Then, I mean, that kind of tracks. That's Phil Brooks in a nutshell, as far as I'm concerned. Come on.
Yeah. I think it's a not overrated AF. It felt too scripted, and again, corporate punk being put through a Slim Jim table by Hollywood Cena, not a pipe bomb, very formulaic and just a nostalgia plug. Yep. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad that me and Nikki
remember berries for advertisers.
Yeah, we gotta get that, and that's what somebody was talking about. How John Cena is 49 years old. He's on his retirement tour. CM Punk is like 48, and we're putting a 48-year-old man through a Slim Jim table. It's just that is the state of WWE. I mean, there are some good things and some positive things, but like overall, like this is my feeling towards this company is like this is what we're doing in 2025. Is we were on this really hot run, and now this is like they had I feel like they did a Slim Jim in the ladder and at Money in the Bank, they had a Slim Jim ladder, I believe.
Nice.
So yeah,
of course they did.
Yeah, he said at least Phil took a nice nap during Cena's promo. Yeah, somebody was talking about how Punk was going through a table like that, and then he had to lay there for like 15 minutes while. And so John Cena closes it out, and they bleeped out what he says, and he's talking about how he's leaving this motherfudging building, and I was like, this sucks. This is what you're sending. But then apparently, I mean, and then the crowds, he made sure to say like, great, because they were in Grand Rapids, and he was like, "You're welcome, Grand Rapids." So of course they pop because that's cheap baby face.
Especially around here.
Especially when you're John Cena, that's baby face.
Oh yeah, WWE sells out here. They sell out here anytime they play this state.
Right, and so of course they're gonna pop by saying the city. But I was just like, I mean, maybe the people in the crowd ate it up. But I was like, if I watched that and that's what I got sent home on, I'd be pissed. First of all, I didn't get an actual Ron Killings versus John Cena match that I wanted, and then you send me home with that. I personally would be very mad about that, but or at least annoyed a lot, at least annoyed online about it.
Yeah.
But yes, so yeah, I saw that promo happen. I was like, oh god, now I have to talk about it. Yeah, right. Compare Cena's run now to Tanahashi's final year run and the respect that Ace gets from everyone. I mean, and you can even go back to Sting's final. Of course, not everybody's final run is going to be like Sting's, but even Sting's final run. I mean, I guess John Cena's getting a WWE send off because this is what WWE does. But yeah, when you look at those two and you're like, oh, okay, well. So how do Hills get away with a sports team? If you did that in Britain, you'd get marked on the way home. He's got a bus to cram into, probably. Yeah. Like Cody's got a bus, so he probably has. I'm sure John Cena. I'm sure he has some fancy bus or something to go home on. But yeah, hopefully once Night of Champions is over, we can get past this and get ready for Cody versus John Cena too. And somebody asked way back in the chat, and I saw this. If Anthony, I don't know if you are still here. Do you guys know of a female wrestler out of CCW named Nikki Blackheart? I have seen her pop up on my timeline several times this weekend, and she has an incredible look, but I don't know anything about her other than she has a cool name and she has awesome gear. Unfortunately,
if she's in CCW, I may have. If she's in my CCW over here in Richmond and in Michigan, Southeast Michigan, it's possible I've seen her. But I know that B. Priestley is going to be main eventing one of the upcoming shows for CCW, and I can't remember who she's wrestling. I think it's Lisa Hall, but I will keep my eyes out for her. So
yeah,
if she's around here.
Yeah, I'm not sure which CC. I actually didn't even know where she wrestled. I've just seen her. She's popped up in my timeline a couple times, and I was like, oh, she has a really cool look. I like her gear. Yeah, she does have an awesome name.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's very cool. And yes, so Maria, I think you're probably right. Cody's gonna win the title, and then Seth is gonna. Do you think Seth's gonna cash in on him right then and there, or do you think Cody's gonna hold the title for a little bit before that happens? Because I think it's gonna be the first one.
So WWE.
Yeah, and they're really building up Seth right now because Paul Heyman's still with him. He's in a stable with Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. It's rumored that they're gonna add either Ethan Page or Ricky Starks to this stable. So I definitely, the way they've been building him, right then and there. Yeah, I feel like that. I definitely see that happening at some, especially because it's SummerSlam and it's a really big show. I definitely,
that's the kind of thing they do.
Yeah, and I definitely see that. I think Maria, I think you're right for sure. So I think we have come to the end of the show. Thank you guys for staying with us. Thank you again to Mr. Darius Carter, who spent some time with us. If you are in the Charlotte area and you're able to, please come out to Ashe's show this Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Tickets available on their website. If you are not in the area and cannot make it to the show, definitely check it out on the Ashe wrestling YouTube page, because it's going to be a really great show. This is their first show here since December, I think, because they took some time off. They did the show in Vegas, or in Indianapolis, then they did the show in Vegas, and then they've been kind of rebuilding or like just getting things ready. So this will be the first show since December. So I am really looking forward to it. We will, of course, will be back here next week. And thank you for hanging out with us. Please make sure to subscribe and follow us, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good week.